It's podcast time. It's podcast time. It's podcast time. Okay, that was the joke, everybody. Get it? Anybody get the joke? We're recording on Friday, February 2nd. Today's Groundhog's Day. It's a Groundhog's Day joke. Bill Murray, Groundhogs. All right, it's not funny if you have to explain it. You know what? So, anyway, we're Almost Screaming. AlmostScreaming@gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to the website, AlmostScreaming.com. We got cool stuff going on there. Hollerfest is on officially April 13th. Hollerfest24. I'm sorry, happyhollerfest.com. We'll go to happyhollerfest.com. You can get more details there. We're looking for derby car racers. We're looking for vendors. And we are scheduling a pretty kick-ass concert, and we're going to get some good bands that you're going to come see. So come check that out. We're working with the city to try to get it as best as the city will allow us. But this should be first of many cool events that we're doing down there. So Hollerfest24, happyhollerfest.com. Go check that out today. Anyway, go to your favorite podcast about our like, friend, tell us all those cool things. Help us out. Happy Groundhog's Day, everybody. Dude didn't see the shadow, so early spring. Hey, buddy.
Hey.
Well, how's it been?
Oh, not too bad.
Not too bad. Is that better than not good? So I'll take it.
This is true.
I don't know. It's an interesting week. Nothing like huge, like crazy. We did finish last week talking about the death penalty and stuff, which I wouldn't mind going back into if you want to go back into that. But I think the big story of the week that I think crosses a lot of the different boundaries that people are going to be interested in talking about for a while is the state of Tennessee Attorney General is suing the NCAA
and the Attorney General of Virginia.
Oh, Virginia's another too.
The Commonwealth of Virginia.
I figured there would be. I figured like. Let's be honest about the situation here, people. College athletes, specifically in basketball and football, because they are the largest televised portions of college athletics, were free labor for a long time. And the NCAA, in its infinite awesomeness at scamming the shit out of people, figured out a way to pay the athletes without having to pay them themselves. Like, the premise that they put together is so fucking genius, I don't even know where to start.
I don't fully understand it.
I mean, basically, it would be like, okay, you used to work for me, right?
Right.
Come work for me. I'm not going to pay you, but I'm going to get some third party to pay you to work for me. That's essentially what they put together. Because the name and likeness is the only thing that the university kind of directly pays the kids for is like jersey sales. They get a cut of jersey sales if the jersey has their name and number on it. Outside of that, it's Ted Russell Ford or whatever. Like you've seen all these ads that have players on them now.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They're allowed to go do a side job and get paid for it now, which they weren't before. That's all this name and likeness deal is. And so my understanding of what UT is on the hot seat for with the NCAA, and this is something that's going on all over the country, is boosters. That we've always had these university boosters. Every time we go on a coach firing and hiring spree is when the boosters are pissed off and they want a better coach. And so the boosters, which are the guys that donate a fucking bajillion dollars a year to the university athletics, they're saying, hey, you need to fire that coach right now. And they're like, well, we have a $7 million buyout on their contract. Whatever, I'll pay the buyout, get us a new coach. This guy sucks. And those boosters are donating to the university to cover those things. Boosters are doing all sorts of stuff behind the scenes. And it's been normal. It's been normal before the NIL deals. This is what they're doing. But so now that they have the NIL opportunity, these boosters are forming basically ad companies. And so it's this, like, I don't know, there's a name on the one that's here in Knoxville. But essentially, this company is a
is it Spire?
Maybe it's a talent booking agency, basically. So what they do is they put local celebrities with local advertisers who want to use those celebrities. And really, what it is these boosters are just funding this agency, and these agencies are going to the players and being like, "Hey, come to Knoxville and play at UT, and we'll guarantee you $5 million in NIL rights." And that's where the NCAA is pissed off because you can't do it before the fact.
That was kind of what I got. That I guess I don't think the NCAA has come out and said exactly what the allegations are. But
that's my understanding.
Somebody was talking about something got leaked.
Right, is the big issue, and it's with Nico or whatever this new guy is that nobody knows how to say his last name. Yeah, that one. Nico. We'll just stay with Nico because I'm not going to try to. I'll just say that I'll screw it up, so I'm not going to try.
It made it sound like that the Spire or whatever company admitted that, like, yes, we did give him an offer, but it wasn't under any kind of condition that he went to a certain school.
Right.
But apparently, by whatever rules were in place, an offer cannot be given until they have committed to a school.
Right. And I think part of that, there was something too in there that it's like they can't still be in high school when the offer is made unless they're already committed to the school.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the black and white facts of it, that an offer cannot be given to someone, period. Before
but how is that the university's fault? The university does not control the Spire Athletics promotions group or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think there's.
It's a third party, and so obviously, and 100%. Don't get me wrong. The university knows what's going on, and they're certainly saying, "Hey, Nico, come visit us in Knoxville." And we're going to show you campus and show you the facilities and all that stuff. And we're going to introduce you to this guy from Spire Athletics or whatever the fucking name of this third-party company is. We're going to introduce you to the Haslams and maybe introduce you to the mayor or Kane, the other mayor, or whatever. We're going to, that's what they do on these things. It's like a glad handing. This is why you need to come to Knoxville and play here because this is how cool this place is. Right. And certainly on that list of people that they're introducing them to are people that are in this third-party group. And I don't doubt that Coach Pruitt in the athletic department absolutely knows for a fact that this group is, and maybe that
Pruitt was the old coach that got in trouble for doing this.
Sorry, Heupel. My bad. Heupel and Coach Barnes in the basketball side and all that, like all these different coaches, and I'm sure it's pretty well known throughout the athletic department what this third party is doing, and that they're making sure that they take these kids to meet this third party so that this third party can say, hey, this is some of the stuff we've got going on here. We can guarantee you we're going to make you some money if you come play here at UT. I'm sure that's all known in between it, but in a direct line of black and white, like you were saying, unless they have Heupel or the athletic director or Donda Plowman or one of the coaches or one of the administrators at the school on record saying Spire Athletic Group or whatever it is will guarantee you $5 million in contracts if you come play with us. If that conversation was had, okay, the university's at fault. But if Spire outside of the university is making those offers to those kids, I don't know how that's the university's fault. Because that is a third party company. That'd be like me. That'd be like if I somehow if some recruit was in town and I walked up and was like, "Hey, I own this business. I actually own a couple businesses. Come to town and I'll get you. I'll make sure you run. I'll run ads with you because I really want you in town. I think you'd be cool." If I just said that, university doesn't care. They don't know about it.
Yeah, I don't think much specifics have been released. I think there was some quote by Dondi Plowman that said she had been aware of the investigation for, I think she said, some time or a little while. Apparently the school was made aware of this at some time and not too long ago.
Yeah, I don't really. That's what I don't get about it. So, we can go back.
And I think a lot of people are jumping to conclusions because the facts aren't all out yet. So people have heard talk about it, just like, oh, the big bag boogeyman of NCAA.
But
it seems like both sides are saying that it is a wild, wild west. I guess there is some kind of gray area.
I mean, here's the problem: is that yes, I'll agree with the boogeyman as the NCAA. I'll agree with the boogeyman as the NCAA one. The university trying to get these kids paid and putting effort into trying to get these kids paid to come play here. Good. Why not? These kids should get paid. University athletics makes millions and millions of dollars a year. Realistically, in my opinion, the university should pay these kids. They should pay them like they pay teachers and janitors and everybody else that works at the university. They should be paid employees because that's what they fucking are.
So other programs that put grant or other programs that put grant proposals in and they get a big federal grant for whatever, should those students then get paid as well?
Sure. If you're a research assistant, I mean, some of these, a teacher's assistant, a grad student teacher's assistant, they're getting paid. They get a stipend. They get shit like that.
Different than a student/athlete.
I don't know. If your labors in the classroom, quote unquote, in your example, if that has a monetary value, then sure, why not? Why would the university be like? I would assume, and I don't know this for a fact.
You're a student just working, not even a grad student. You're just a student working on research.
Okay, then I think then yeah. If the university is making money off of that, if there are other people making money off of that, then you should be one of the people making money off it. Yes. Now, I would guess that in these grants and stuff that you're talking about, maybe the professor's getting a little cut personally, but realistically, he's keeping his department open. He's paying for the supplies and materials and all the different stuff that he has to do to get a project like this put together, and there is no money in it. Now, I will say, and this goes
There's
into
money that goes into the research, but it doesn't. I'm assuming it would not go to the professor specifically.
Now, I will say that you have, and I don't know exactly how some of this works, but they've talked about it a little bit in the medical side of shit, where like you have universities that do research on, developing a medication or a drug protocol for a certain disease or something like that. If that drug protocol is monetized, then yeah, absolutely. The people that develop that drug protocol should get paid. Or it shouldn't be, it should, since it was subsidized in research, then it should be made a cheaper product on the other side. You know what I'm saying? Like on the drug side especially, that's one that especially in the private drug company part of it, and some of them use university research too. Like if Pfizer comes to UT Medical and says, hey, we want to do a trial with this thing, and UT spends its money on behalf of Pfizer to do the research, then when Pfizer turns around and sells that drug, it should be either discounted for the percentage of how much UT paid for it, or UT should get paid back. I would think that's reasonable. Like that's one of the issues that a lot of people get bent out of shape about I mean, we could talk about it doesn't have to be the COVID specific vaccines, but some of the vaccines and stuff, like that mRNA technology, air quotes, was developed over decades with federal dollars.
Right.
But somehow Pfizer and Moderna get to use that technology without having to pay for it, and and at least the federal government is paying for these vaccines for people. Like I think there should be some tit for tat, some quid pro quo, if you will. If the tax base is paying for you to for you to develop this thing, then the tax base should get a fucking discount.
I didn't pay for mine.
Yeah, you did. We all did. I paid for yours. Yeah. Everybody paid for yours.
I pay taxes too, son bitch.
I said, yeah, you did. Oh. So did I. And so, I don't know. And so back to the football side of it is that, to me, what's gross about it is the NFL is also a gross partner or gross boogeyman in this conversation, because the NFL knows what it is. The NFL loves it. This is great for the NFL. What the NFL should do, in my opinion, is they're trying so hard to get football in Europe. They keep sending Jacksonville into London and Germany games. They do a Mexico. They're trying to do a Mexico game. Yeah. They're trying to get the NFL out of just the United States proper.
They have their own leagues. I didn't realize that, but there's like European football. European American football.
I like what I wish would have happened, and I know I made this reference before. What I wish would have happened is I wish that when The Rock bought the XFL, he would have brought it out as a development league.
Wait, he bought the XFL,
and then they merged with the USFL, and now it's the.
You said The Rock, right? Not McMahon.
Yeah, McMahon was the original owner.
Okay.
Who he's on allegations of sexual whatever,
right.
Which it's like, duh. He was a rich, famous white dude coked out of his mind for like 25 years. Of course he's got sexual assault allegations.
Roided out. See how big that sumbitch was for years?
Or maybe that's his defense. You know how little my balls are right now? I've done so many steroids.
I can't do anything.
My testicles are barely even there. Anyway, that's what I would like to see. Like, to me, the solution to all this is for a private entity to come in and do a developmental football league. It says, hey, kid, you want to play football? You think you're good enough? You come to me and you'll start getting paid immediately. You don't have to mess with this college bullshit. You don't have to go to classes you don't want to go to in the first place. You come play for me, and I'll get you going, and I'll get you paid. And you might stay here, like minor league baseball is. You might stay here. You might roll up into the big show. You may not. But you can do your development time here, getting paid as a professional, instead of this weird college program thing that we do. That's all it is. I mean, realistically, not all it is. Again, let me back that up. There are plenty of kids that go to school that play football that don't care about, like, they love the game of football but have no intent to go pro.
Right.
There are kids that love the game that.
It was truly the way to get into a college and get an education.
Right. It's a way to get in. It's I mean, I think we have a good example here with Josh Dobbs. I don't think Josh Dobbs. He's a great football player. Don't get me wrong. He was very good, and he's now he was on 4 different teams this year in the NFL or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
And he's good enough to go to the big show. He's not good enough to be a starter in the big show or whatever. But I don't think he came to UT and got an astrophysics degree or whatever it was he officially got because he thought he was going to be a pro football player for the rest of his life. I think he got his astrophysics degree because that's another thing that he was into, and that's a career that he wants to pursue. But as long as he's physically capable, he's going to try the football thing. Pretty smart, unless he bashes his brain in so hard he can't do the astrophysics on the other side. But I think that's a good example of a person who's using football to get ahead in the education parts of things. But there are tons of kids that go to school to play their sport and no other reason at all.
Right.
And why are we taking classroom space away from kids who want to be in classrooms to force kids into classrooms who don't want to be there for a money-making enterprise that is the football or baseball or basketball program anyway? I had a Clausen.
Are you advocating for schools possibly just bringing in players just to be a revenue stream and not to then force them?
No,
to...
I'm advocating for that to take the revenue portion of college sports out and do a developmental league separately. If your goal in life is to play professional football, go play in the DFL, the Developmental Football League. That's a professional team. Go try out, make the team, get paid from the day you turn 18 until either you go through whatever their process is. That's like, okay, you've been here 3 years.
There are lower levels of it.
Huh?
There are low. I worked with one guy. I can't remember. It was like the USFL or something.
Right.
But it was like a semi-pro league.
I mean, it's pro. It's just, but their target isn't development. Their target is just
they're still kind of like double A. Yeah, some of it's just leftovers, and some of it's
just guys that aren't good enough to make it in the NFL.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's because I think if you focused on the developmental part, because that's one of the things about the sport of football that I love. One of the things I like about football is that, like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some. I'm sure the Manning brothers were capable. They were smart enough and they were good enough at the game that they probably could have skipped college and gone straight to the pros. But physically, they couldn't have played. They just weren't good enough, or they weren't physically big enough to be in the big boy game, for lack of a better word.
They're still 19, 20 years old.
Right. And so the sport of football obligates sometime after high school before you get into the big boy game. There are some kids that there are some exceptions over time that theoretically could skip that. But even that, like, you get some NFL players that didn't go to college. Most of them are 2 or 3 years removed from high school before they make it in the NFL. They're just not physically big enough, whatever it is. They can't play the game. And so that's one of the things I like about the sport. Is it needs
literally growing.
Right. It needs that developmental period that we use college for to make legitimate pros out of. Where, like, basketball, you don't even need that. Like, basketball, that's why one of the reasons I don't like basketball as a sport. The best 2 or 3 players in the last 30 years of the NBA didn't bother with college. LeBron didn't go to college. Kobe didn't go to college. I think Steph went for his 1 year minimum.
So you're envisioning a league outside of the schools?
Yes. Okay. A professional developmental league where the target of the league is to take 18, 19, 20-year-olds who are good and want to play the game but don't want to fuck with school and pay them as players, just like the NFL does, it just in a smaller portion because it's not going to be the same quality. How
do you encourage schools to go along with that? Since, I mean, as we're envisioning this is, one of UT's big money makers.
Oh yes, the NCAA would hate it. Why do I give a shit if the NCAA would be happy with it or not? And the NFL would hate it because they would have
the schools themselves.
Yeah,
I mean, forget about the league.
The University of Tennessee
governs it. The schools that see this as their big cash cow.
Yes, the University of Tennessee specifically, if we're going to stay on that example, is not going to be. They won't like that. They will lobby against that. Absolutely, they will try to figure out a way to make it illegal for somebody to build this developmental league. The NCAA will do it. All the major colleges will do it because it is a cash cow for them.
In my mind, I've always just thought it was kind of like gross that schools are that reliant upon this revenue stream and just want to see their sports engines as. I almost feel like the schools have become too reliant upon this, and they want to act like this is the only way we're going to have to make money, or the only way to get our name out there and encourage more students to come in. Is we've got to have this program.
It certainly does help with overall recruiting of the university. That's a fact. I don't know how the budgets work. My understanding is...
Well, I mean, a majority of the students that are coming to the schools are not athletes.
I agree, but my understanding is that student athletics, like the pay for portion of it, whether it's the football like the sports the athletics department at large, it pays into the rest of the university for classes. They pay the scholarship parts. They pay that in the university. But as I understand it, they don't pay anything in to the general budget of the university. That's all stays in the athletics department. That's why every major university has massive remodels of every stadium every other fucking year and stuff like that, because they're trying to spend all that money.
All right.
Like, that's my understanding. I don't know if that's true.
And that's where I kind of see it's kind of gross, is they'll be like, well, we get to have this new thing because we're bringing, all the feets into the seats, basically, for game days all the time, or into a basketball game, or this other sport.
But like I said, as I understand it,
I guess
they're not putting money back into the rest of the university anyway, except for we have 700 students that are in our athletics department that we have scholarships for, and they pay those. It's not the university doesn't give the kid a free ride. It's the athletics department pays the university for their classes. I think, but I think that's the only money that, like, if you buy a ticket to a UT,
I would assume that if the college institution itself was giving someone a scholarship, it was coming out of, like, the general funds of the college.
I think it comes out of the athletic department and into the general fund. But I think the other side too is I think the university at large gets a cut of any of the marked sales, so anything that has the school logo,
right?
Whether it's athletic department sales or just general, like your UT sweatshirt that isn't necessarily a football sweatshirt, it's just a sweatshirt that has the Tennessee logo on it, that they get a cut of all those sales, whether it's sports or not.
Right.
Because the university owns the brand, not the athletic department. But that might not be true either. Or maybe some of the brands, like the Power Tee, may be a university brand, but some of the specific sub-logos that the football team uses may be property of the athletic department and not the university at large. I don't know exactly how that all works. It's a good question. I would love to get somebody out of budgets at UT that could explain that.
I mean, I've always just kind of thought it was kind of an odd thing, like I said, for schools to be so reliant upon the sports program and just kind of take that as an aside, basically. It's like, well, it's like, yes, we spend so much money on the players, but they're bringing in so much revenue. And as you pointed out, that revenue is not coming back into the school.
Not that I understand it is. And again, I could be totally wrong on that. But because in the other part, too, to me, I think that's a major kind of subset of it. Is I think if you had this developmental league that I'm talking about, it wouldn't negate university athletics. It would just scale them back to a more reasonable scale. Because then you would have students that would be like, or you'd have a senior in high school that's like, well, I want to play ball, but I want to get an education. I can go to the school, a student who will actually take value out of the scholarship they're going to get. I want to go play football at school and make a little bit of money while I'm at it, but with my name and likeness or however I can make money out of the university side of it, but get this education as part of it too, because I know that I might be good enough to go pro, but it ain't going to last forever, and I want to do something with my life other than play football. That'll still be an available option to plenty of kids, and it'll still be a good product on the field.
Yeah, I wonder when student athletes started getting free rides.
That's a good question.
That was something that's kind of started years ago, of just trying to bring in players. It's like, hey, you know what? Hey, actually, if you come here, we won't charge you any tuition, and just trying to get these star athletes. Because as we've seen it happen time and time again in years past before this name and likeness, there was constant controversy, not really controversies, but what would be considered illegal acts of giving them cars, etc., to come to the school. Bribes, what would be considered almost.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, I think that was the design of this name and likeness thing. Is
like, we can't pay him, so we got to kind of do it at the table.
Right. The university and the NCAA doesn't have to pay them, but now they can legally get paid outside of, and it's just like, that was the design of this program.
Well, I mean, that's basically the school doing this.
No.
Doing those things. Where did the money come from to buy a new car or et cetera?
It's the same people. It's the same people, these same boosters that I don't understand who these people are. They exist. I don't understand how they, like, I'm an alum, I'm a big fan, whatever it is, but I'm not putting, like, I got
was it like the Vol Club that's named in this as well? Right,
there's a couple of different ones, but yeah, there's the Letterman's Club or something like that, which is one of them. It's like, $100,000 plate dinners where they go hang out, just fucking party.
I've been in that room once.
I got a tax form from the University of Tennessee for my donations this year, because to go to alumni band, there's a fee for it, and the first $5 of each alumni band fee is a donation to the university's general scholarship fund or whatever. And so I donated.
Would wholly be opposed to that.
I don't care. I just think
it's a portion. It's not the whole thing.
I'm just saying, but like, I've been out of the university for right at 20 years now, and this is the first time I've donated $1 back to them. Because what am I doing? Like, I don't understand, like, what's the premise? Like, why, like, you have the Haslam family. Like, I get the Haslam family insofar as, you know, for the Haslams, it's a legacy issue. They're at that point in wealth where it's a legacy thing, where they have the Haslam School of Business or the Haslam whatever. His wife, his name's on the new band building.
Is it? Okay.
You know, and so that Haslam name gets the legacy of, you know, the university is going to exist long past me, but the legacy of the Haslams is stamped on the university now.
Right.
And I can feel good about my legacy or whatever. Like, I can get that when you're at that level of wealth or whatever, but for just like middle of the road people putting, you know, like, I mean, you know, you got to donate like $10,000+ to get a skybox seat, to get the opportunity to buy a ticket to some of the luxury seats that they built.
Right.
You're not even on the list of people who are allowed to buy them until you donate a certain amount. And there's people that do it year in and year out, like significant sums of money. And maybe that's the play that the universities are doing, is that, you know, it's, you know, you get these donors that are donating to the university and you give them perks through the athletic department.
Right.
And then that's money that's going into the university
proper. Quote unquote value for their money.
Right. But that's money that's going into the university proper, not just the athletic department. Maybe that's the trade-off that the university and the athletic departments are working with. I don't know. I'd love to find somebody who knows the answers to some of these things. But I think college sports is a scam. It's been a scam for a couple decades at least, since it became such a monetized item. I mean, like, the national championship damn near gets, I mean, it gets almost Super Bowl numbers.
Really? As far as, like, viewership, is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
like, there's I can't remember, I saw the stats somewhere. In 2023, in the year 2023, the most viewed televised events were the Super Bowl proper. I think it was one of the two championship games in the NFL that year. It was the AFC championship game, the Super Bowl, the SEC championship was top 10. The Big Ten championship was like top 10. Like, it was almost all, like 8 of the top 10 viewed things for the entire year of 23 were football. And it was like 5 NFL and 3 NCAA games. And then it was like the Grammys or something stupid. Like, there was just a couple other, like, weird, like, Grammys or Oscars or something like that were the non-sporting ones that were on that list. You know, and so it's like, whenever that switch changed, it became such a monetized item. It's just been a scam ever since. It's going to scam on the players. It's free labor. And it's still free labor with this new program. But what I think the NIL really did that sucks, because I don't know where this whole transfer thing came along with it, because it came in at the same time. I don't know if that was part of the thing. Is these kids transferring, which again is no doubt that conversation. You've got a student, like, and I think long term it's going to really hurt a Knoxville style a UT style university, like a Madison, which is another one that I would think is going to get hurt by it, because you don't have the market, you don't have a big enough fan base locally to pay these likenesses that these kids are going to be seeking. Like, I'd rather go play at Georgia Tech, where I'm in Atlanta, where you've got billions of dollars, you have hundreds of people in the 7-figure income club that are donating and buying or paying for ads and using these athletes to pay for ads and stuff like that. Like, these bigger markets at New York's, Atlanta's and stuff like that are easier places for these. Like, that's the argument for why Aaron Rodgers wanted to go to the Jets. That's why Brett Favre went to the Jets. Green Bay is the smallest market in all of professional sports. There is no team in any sport that plays in a smaller city than the Packers do.
But I'd say if you went throughout the world, Packers is a more recognizable.
Sure, and you can make good money as a Packers player in the side hustle.
I wouldn't describe it as a small market. I would say they've got a big reach outside of their local market.
You know, Rodgers had his series of like State Farm ads and stuff like that. But when you get into little, like, local businesses that are throwing wads of cash at you, you go to the city of New York, you got local businesses that are throwing real wads of cash at you. There's no company in Green Bay that could afford to rent Aaron Rodgers for one day to film an ad, other than the Green Bay Packers.
Then why have the Jets been so shitty for so many years or whatever?
I mean,
if they're in a market with so much money, how have they not been able to bring in big names?
I don't know.
If it's in your mind, if that's where all these big people want to go to get paid and get money, how has this not come to fruition in past? Yep, big markets in L.A.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is the way the NFL's salary cap structure works. Kind of puts that in check. You'd rather make your check for the job.
They can get endorsements.
They can get endorsements, but I'm saying if you can get your.
If you're talking about a market that businesses in that local area would want to, pay.
Let me correct myself a little bit. I apologize. It's not. Yes, it's about the money, but I think it's also about the recognition of fame that a city like New York is going to give you for a person like Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't. At this point in his career, he should be the most famous person on the planet in his mind. Is my take on it. I think Brett Favre was the same way. And that's why he wanted to go to New York, because that's a city where everybody goes, it's just millions of people that all know who you are, and they're all in that place. Where, again, you're in Green Bay, you probably have met all the people that live there in the 15 years he played there.
In that city, but I'd say the whole fucking state is behind him.
Oh, sure. I don't disagree with that.
I mean, they are a major franchise in the NFL. And have been. Like, a lot of people know the Packers.
They are my favorite franchise.
Like I said, a lot of people know the Packers.
And what's funny is this is something that you guys that hate on me for libertarians and stuff should be calling me out for. Like, I should hate the Packers on a philosophical basis. They're socialists.
Are they now?
Yeah. The city of Green Bay owns the team. It's another one of it's one of very few in all of major sports that is the case. That's just I'm making fun of myself joke.
Okay.
But that's one of the things I love about the Packers. I'm so philosophical.
No, I think that's a great thing. I hate to use the word indebted, but I mean it
ensures that they will never leave. They can't ever leave. They will never be sold. They will never leave Green Bay.
I mean, it brings more local ties to it. Like it's not a corporation that owns it. Like it's
right. It's
like,
not
hey,
some
we're
individual.
We all own this.
Yeah. I missed my chance a couple of years ago. They sold a new set of shares to pay for their expansion of the stadium. It's like $80 a share. I missed it. Would have put it up there with my Lordship Proclamation.
Right.
I would have put it above the Lordship Proclamation. I'll tell you that right now. Being an owner of the Green Bay Packers is 15 steps above being a Lord of Scotland.
A friend years ago that had some. I don't even think it was a full share, but it was like partial share of like Disney. But he would still get like notification of like a shareholder meeting or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
I joke about going to it.
I voted for the board in Halliburton a couple months ago.
Really?
Well, I put my proxy in. I elected my proxy to vote for me. But yeah, I'm trying to see if I can go to my bank's because we use a credit union. My credit union has its board meeting and election coming up, and it's like, you say I'm a member. I'm not a customer. I'm a member, right? And they're like, yeah. It's like, can I go to the meeting? They're like, yeah. It's like, I might go to the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm getting to that point. It's fun. Like I went to I had 4 major meetings this week. 3. Anyway, yesterday I went to there's a law firm out of Nashville who's kind of like I don't know. I don't know exactly where their impetus is, but it's basically they were doing a hemp law roadshow is what they called it, and some banquet room at some country club up in Halls. Went and hung out, and they, basically gave us the legislative update on hemp and what's going on in hemp this year and all that kind of stuff. Which I had mixed feelings on the turnout. It had a pretty good turnout. I was hoping it wasn't a very good turnout because I don't know how many people came. Like we didn't go through the room as far as like where everybody was from. Right. Not everybody was Knoxville based. It was just they did a Chattanooga, a Nashville, a Knoxville, and a Memphis meeting, and so everybody that's in East Tennessee, at least north of Cookeville, north of Sweetwater or whatever, was probably invited to this one, and then everybody else was invited to Chattanooga. But so there were like 65 people in the room. It's like, damn, there's that many other hemp players in town.
Right.
Shit. And there's that many. Well, maybe more to the point. There's that many hemp players that are serious about paying attention to how this is going to work to make sure that we stay above board and all that kind of shit. Because there's hundreds. It's just whether or not they're above board and stuff like that.
Right.
And so it's kind of interesting. It's kind of fun. Like, there's a lady that...
I'm sure a few people were like businesses of like 4 and 5 people together came in as one entity.
There were a couple that came with a few people, but it seemed like at best there were pairs.
Really?
As far as I could tell. And so there's a hemp growers coalition or whatever that's a statewide thing that they kind of have a lobby group, and that's part of who pays this law firm and stuff from the front end. It's really, to be clear, this was a sales tour. This was them trying to get new clients to come on board. But it's not a bad sales tour to do because this is a very lucrative industry. There's a lot of people that are getting into it. The legals are getting complicated. You need a lawyer, but you don't just need a lawyer. You need a lawyer who knows what the fuck they're talking about. And so this law firm has been active in the creation of some of the laws that are on the books, in lobbying for and against some of the different subsets inside of it. So they're very knowledgeable about the specifics. And it's very neat and it's very interesting. I enjoyed it very much. I made myself feel a little stupid because one of the things they were talking about is like, we got election coming up this year. All the House members are on. A bunch of senators are on. There's going to be a lot of candidates that we're going to be interested and not interested in supporting because of this, that, and the other. And when it got to the Q&A section, I was like, hey, you were talking about candidates. Like, is there, like, do you guys put a list out? It was like, we got this primary coming up in March, which isn't false, but she was correct and said, well, that the primary in March is the presidential and local only. All our state rep candidates and stuff like that we care about for this aren't until the August.
Yeah.
I was like, damn it, you're right. I feel like a dumbass.
Sorry.
God, I'm the one that should know that, because then I go up to the show, and after the show, and I handed her my card for this, and I was like, do a podcast on this stuff. I felt really dumb for saying that March part.
Oh, shit.
But I'd like to have you on the show sometime, because I'd like to get deep into this stuff. This is something that is both in the wheelhouse of the show and deeply important to me personally.
All right.
On the topic, Massey is setting up a meeting for me, Massey, Department of Agriculture, here sometime next week.
Nice.
So I'm going to get to sit down and talk to them specifically with Massey as my assistant in the conversation.
Wow.
To talk to them about what's going on. Well, it's going to be a virtual one. I'm going to request that I can record it for the podcast sake. If they say no, I won't.
Right.
If they say, I will. And I don't really know exactly what it is I'm going to do on it. I just want to, and again, because it's like, it's super unclear. We super don't understand stuff. Actually, I'm going to call this attorney and be like, hey, I'm not hiring you right now. I might eventually. But if you want to come sit in on this meeting with me, Agriculture, and Becky Massey, I would be happy to have you join us.
Wouldn't hurt.
Because I would like you to make sure I don't put my foot in my mouth. But more importantly, I would I don't know if this is an opportunity.
The legal ins and outs of it.
Well, it's not just that. Is I don't know how. They've talked to. They said they've got people. This is something they regularly do. They've talked to people at Agriculture about what the plan is. They are closer than I am, and I'm as close as it gets, at least around here.
Right.
And so, I'm not sure. I'm at least going to email them and be like, hey, I got this meeting coming up. Got any tips, insights, anything I should be on the lookout for? Anything I should or shouldn't say? And we'll see what they say to that. Anyway, the whole meeting was kind of cool. I had Jimmy John's first time. They had a Jimmy John's cater it. It's the first time I've had Jimmy John's in forever.
Never cared for it.
The Vito was fun. I like their Italian. Real greasy, but that's how an Italian should be. That was not a racist joke, people. That's a definition. That's a description of the sandwich.
It should be oily.
Yes. But then I had a meeting with special events and KPD. I had a meeting with our neighborhood group, hence the teaser, not the teaser, but the promo on the front end. Hollerfest is a go. We're still working out the fine point details, but mark your calendars, April 13th. All day long. Come early for the Derby race. Hang out. We're going to have a bunch of vendors doing crafts and stuff like that. And then we're going to have a rock show.
Rock day.
And so that's that. I don't know. I'm excited. I feel like the city, what the city did, all my bitching and frustration previously on it, I think the city does it on purpose. I think they make it feel as complicated and difficult as possible to make sure you're serious. And then once you cross that threshold with them, that you follow up on stuff, that you correct errors in your original application when they point them out, you go fill out this other application that's adjacent. I mean, there's like 12 applications I have to do.
All right. I could see it to an extent of being like, oh, hey, can I do a street party?
Right.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Right.
Well, no, you guys said we should have a street party. You didn't say I had to have, this or this, or this blocked off, or, availability of this and that.
And so it feels like once that threshold was crossed where they realized that we were serious about it, we were intentional, we wanted to play by the rules, we wanted to do this by the book and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
They shifted from being like the gatekeeper to here's this form, here's this thing over here, here's who you need to call, here's the email, all that kind of stuff. And so in the last 2 weeks, it went from, I don't know if we're going to be able to do this, to feeling really good about this.
Right. Now
I get the stress of trying to make sure I get racers and vendors and people to show up and have a good time. That's now the stressor, which is the stressor I need. That's the one I want to deal with, not the, oh my God, is the city going to let me do this?
Right.
So yeah, look out for updates on that. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting. Hollerfest 24.
Holla!
Yeah. Like I said, and again, this it sits neatly between a couple of different passions of mine, if you will, like this podcast and all the politicians and the government workings that I've been, just diving into head first, trying to figure out how it all works and stuff like that, and my day job. Like it brings those two together. I get to go and dabble in, and it's been like I've had a couple people be like, "Oh yeah, you're the podcast guy?" Yeah, that's me. I've had a couple people who recognize either this podcast or the Compass podcast and my involvement in those.
Nice.
And so it's kind of fun. Which I'm mad at you. You should do it, man. Claim your special, man.
Just don't throw it around.
Claim your special. You had to meet somebody today, and it's not even the throwing around part. It's like those are the things that I found, especially doing this. That
I said we didn't really talk. It was like him walking, like I was helping with parking, and he just
say, "Hey, man, I work with Seth on the podcast, and we really appreciate you doing the podcast." You just put it that way. Like you don't put it as I'm special because of, but that's going to be a thing that he'll remember you for.
It just would have been an odd connection. He was like, "Wait, huh? What? Huh? Thought I came here for this. You're somebody else. That's part of something else."
My whole pitch that I got him to come on the show was because he was doing the parade. He wasn't at the parade to talk about a podcast.
Right.
He was at the parade to do the parade and talk to citizens and people who are going to vote for him and shit. And I was like, well, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to mingle.
It's not your style. I know it's not your style. It's all cool.
I like to mingle some things.
So apparently we're just going to do a sports episode anyway. So let's go ahead and shift on to the Swiftiness, because I know you're a Swiftie and I know you love football. So you put those two things together, you're a happy camper, right? Is that accurate?
I appreciate your facetiousness. No.
I mean, I don't know.
I could care
pitched
less
this as a topic, so you
care less about it. Oh no, I just I didn't realize how big this was. I mean, I knew Swifties were a big, huge thing and following, but I didn't realize that there were multiple conspiracies going on about this. And I was like, wait, there's this one? Oh, wait, there's that one? Oh, there's that one too? And there's another one?
The Disney,
what
you heard the Disney
fuck?
Marvel one? That's my favorite one.
No, I believe so.
Okay. So, apparently, Swift has a part in the new Deadpool.
Wait, what?
Apparently, this is there's and the trailer for the new Deadpool is coming out during the Super Bowl.
I think they've already teased it a couple times. I want to say
but the
Ryan
official,
Reynolds and Hugh Jackman did some little spot that kind of teased it early.
And then Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman were at a Chiefs game back in October or November or something like that when they first started dating. And so it's something about how the way that the conspiracy theory was introduced is that this is another one of Ryan Reynolds' 3D chess marketing moves.
Oh, he's going to buy out
to save Disney
to make another Netflix special about a different team that he and some other.
It's not that he's buying it. It's that he has worked this whole thing into. Basically, he is inserting Deadpool and the brand of Deadpool that he's attached to.
Is he a psyop as well?
Into what is theoretically the two largest markets that they don't the two largest sub-demographics in the U.S., which would be Taylor Swift fans and football fans.
Is he a psyop as well?
Maybe.
Owned by George Soros?
That was not part of the conspiracy theory that I heard on it. Yeah. It was just that in an attempt to bring in football fans and Swift fans into the Deadpool universe, which saves Marvel, which saves Disney at large.
Deadpool's been popular.
Right, but is it popular enough to keep Disney and the Marvel brand afloat? Because Marvel's been tanking on their last handful of movies.
They bought enough shit to keep them afloat. They own a lot of stuff.
I don't know the deep details of the conspiracy theory, bro.
I know. I'm just saying,
from what was out there.
From an outset of I honestly don't know what the hell's going on and what exactly all the hell about.
ESPN is owned by Disney, and so ESPN would have interest in supporting this thing and it's working. There's one of the big conspiracy theory rumors is that the NFL is scripting this. They wanted the Kelsey Swift Super Bowl. They wanted them both there, or they wanted the Chiefs there so that Taylor would be there for the Super Bowl. I've seen all the maps and planning because apparently she's playing in Tokyo the night before. And there's people that figured out the logistics of how she's going to perform in Tokyo and be on time for kickoff.
Yeah, I was just reading earlier about this that apparently like all the quote unquote like reserved spots are already taken up like in Vegas as far as like surrounding airports that have, I guess,
for all the private jets coming in.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. Again, like there is like there's a lot to unpack here. If we want to go down the rabbit hole of the different conspiracy parts of it, if we want to go down to like the actual like political fallout of ridiculous football fans with the same people that are all pissed off about Colin Kaepernick are all pissed off about how much attention Taylor Swift gets at football games.
I think she was even saying, she's like, why the fuck do they keep focusing on me? I mean, yes, she's popular enough that, you know, any kind of network is going to be like, oh, well, there's Taylor Swift up in the stands.
Well, because the reality of it
kind
is,
of like regular, like
there was a New York Times article that was, oh God, what was it? It was something like, you know, Trump indictment number 74, something else, and Taylor Swift. And it was an article, and way down deep in the article, there was like one sentence about Taylor Swift in it.
But the headline.
But the headline includes Taylor Swift, so it's just a clickbaity headline.
Right.
And that's reality. That's just the way the world works. You put Taylor Swift, because that was another thing that was going on this week too. I don't know if you heard about it. Is apparently somebody went to one of the AI generators and AI generated a bunch of nudes of Taylor Swift.
I did hear about that.
And those are roaming around. And there was a period of time where X and Insta both blocked Taylor Swift searches inside the
did see that
inside the thing as a way to try to.
I don't know if it was all searches, but yeah, I saw that they were trying to limit it or.
Because I think it was the blocking was happening on Sunday when the football game was going on too, and so a bunch of people were all like, "Why the fuck are they blocking Taylor Swift right now?" and all this kind of shit. And it's like, well, because you're going to be looking for Taylor Swift at the Chiefs game and get some fake boobies,
right?
And so you had that whole kind of subset of things, which is a whole nother subset of like weirdisms and AI crazy and stuff like that. But back to the original part of it, like I do think as a football fan, it's kind of annoying. I understand the thought process of it because you know. The different networks that are showing the game, they know that there are and it's sad in the sense that there are people that are such Taylor Swift fans that they're watching Chiefs games to catch a glimpse. It's like, really?
I hope not.
There are.
There's plenty of other clips to watch. Like,
I agree, but there are.
Why are you going to watch like maybe a couple like random like camera pans up to like her up in a skybox?
Because it's her being real, just being her, just a normal girl. Watching her boyfriend play the game.
Well, sorry,
I agree.
It's sad. I can understand being a fan of someone, but to watch...
It's a level... You're right, it goes beyond. It's beyond the level of appropriate fandom. I agree.
I want to watch you doing something that I have not appreciated you for. I want to watch you watching a sport that I may or may not care about.
Right. But the reality is it works. Again, that's why that New York Times article or whatever just clickbaits the headline. And that's why every pregame show talks about her being there, and they're showing her walking into the stadium. And
I mean, most ads are about just getting like eyeballs on it,
right? And so, you know, if you're ESPN and you're showing the game, and you can get 1,000 more people watching because they think they might catch a glimpse of Taylor Swift while they're watching the game, that's something that you're using as part of your ad sales.
Maybe you'll stick around and watch.
You know, because what ESPN or whoever is doing is they're going, okay, the stats say we got this many viewers. Our ads cost X. Right? You know, well, the stats are saying we got this many more viewers. Our ads are now X times 2. So your viewership is how you price your ads. And so the more viewership you get, the more you can price your ads. And that's what they're trying to do. And if they think showing Taylor's going to get them a couple more people watching, then they're going to raise their ad prices and show Taylor. Which I understand their thought process on that. It's annoying, but whatever. I mean, the Kaepernick situation was the same fucking thing. It was such a big thing. Like, I think ESPN probably made the most money off of it, not because of during the game stuff, but because of how much time they spent on every one of their talking head shows talking about it. I think CNN and Fox News and everybody else made a ton of money off it because it was something that people got outraged about. It became a talking point. And it's just the chasing the dollar of the ad. It's the problem with the ad model is you need eyeballs to get people to pay you for ads.
How much they pushed it, I don't know if they just were on one hand, you know, journalistically reporting upon the uproar that was going on at that time.
I will agree insofar as they may have started there, There's a big uproar about this Colin Kaepernick taking a knee thing, but I think that they quickly saw that it was outrageous and people got excited and watched more, and so they became it may have been what could have should have been naturally like a 1 or 2 day thing from the first time he did it became every week they showed it because every week he did it because every time they showed it, people tuned in to hear us bitching about it, and people tuned in and people tuned in.
But I'd also say on the converse side of it as well, I think if they would have ignored it, they would have gotten flack for, like, oh, you're just trying to, pretend like it's not happening and not try to get any kind of coverage when, someone is trying to.
Right, but your original statement was to accurately display the truth would be Colin Kaepernick knelt before the game today. It upset some people. In other news, Hawaii's on fire. We're bombing 3 different countries right now. Whatever the fuck's going on else out in the world. It's not a story that there's no point in that story that it ever should have been more than a 5-minute segment one time. It never had that value. It never did. It only had that value because people got excited about it and they could bring guests on to bitch about it, or they could bring guests on to praise him for it, or whatever it was. And I think that's the Taylor Swift thing is a different version of the same thing. Because you turn on ESPN right now and SportsCenter is going to talk about Taylor Swift at the Chiefs game. It's not worth the story, but it's worth the story to ESPN because people are watching and people are talking about it. We're talking about it right now.
I mean, I'd say the Kaepernick thing, there were people that were, honestly seeing this as a valid protest.
I agree. And again, you could have put
and others were riding the coattails of,
the outrage culture.
Right.
And again, I don't disagree with that. And responsible journalism would say something.
I don't know if it's just hard to kind of find that happy medium of doing something correctly and journalistically, but at the same time, they are beholden to their investors, so they've got to bring in more viewership and get more people watching.
And they're beholden to their investors, so they need more ads. They need more ad revenue. They need more ad sales. And they get more ad sales by getting more eyeballs. They don't get more eyeballs by telling the truth and telling all the different stories that are going on. They get eyeballs by getting crazy and upset about a thing, or getting crazy and defensive about somebody the other side is getting upset about on things. It's the problem with the ad model, and that's why most of the time I don't watch. I sure should never watch cable news. But even that, I was watching NBC Nightly News last night, 2 nights ago. And I got a stark reminder of why I don't usually watch that. Because the headline of the story was what Trump and the Republicans are doing to stop Biden's immigration control something or something like that. And why is Trump included in that headline?
Because he's inserted himself into the border negotiations.
Has he? Does he have an actual official role?
Official? No.
Okay.
Unofficial? Absolutely.
So
he is in constant contact with many of the Republican leaders.
I'm sure. Well, yeah, I'm sure him and Mr. Abbott are on the phone regularly.
Who? Abbott,
governor of Texas.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. To me, that felt like and maybe this is because I'm overly sensitive to it, but to me, it felt like we're going to make this a Trump issue. Not that it's not necessarily a Trump issue, but it's not.
He has been
really
vocal about his feelings.
Okay, but
about this.
But he doesn't have the job. He doesn't have the authority to actually do anything about it.
But he
has
still holds.
Sure, he has power. He has sway. People do what he tells them to do. I don't disagree with that. But at the end of the day, in a democracy, the people whom have been elected to handle the situation are the ones that are responsible for the situation. Trump has not been.
We were just talking about eyes, and that's something that they look at as well as lawmakers, and keeping their constituents happy.
Well, yeah, but why would NBC News insert the Trump portion of it?
Again, because he has personally inserted himself into much in the negotiations, letting his feelings known, how he feels about this or that, or how certain Congress people are picking sides on this or that.
Right. And I agree with those certain Congress people whom actually have some authority to vote and be a part of this situation should be part of that story. And again, I'm not even going to say that Trump's thoughts on it shouldn't be part of the story, but Trump cannot block anything that Biden is doing. He doesn't have the authority to do that. He's not been elected in any
Personally,
position.
no, but
He can influence people to do so. And to me, that felt like
So he doesn't have the power, or
that felt like an electoral politics headline that was not a true headline, if that makes sense. Because I think
I kind of see what you're saying, but
if you were being honest about it, it might make it a little easier for us as citizens to understand how the process works and hold the right people to account. Instead, if you're pro-border control or anti-border control or whatever it is, you're now forced to, by the way the story is covered, to associate Trump with that. And so your feelings on the subset of the story is now assigned to a presidential candidate, essentially. Because essentially, what that headline is to me is like, here is your presidential matchup that you're about to see on your tickets when you go vote. Now, hear this story, and however you feel about this story, whichever of our two individuals that we've named in the headline are the ones that you support or don't support. That's what that story felt like to me. You know what I'm saying? Like it was intentionally an electoral politics issue, not an actual functional. There is a situation that our government is supposed to be handling that they're squabbling over, and the players who are actually voting on it, like the Speaker of the House and his process in it, and Chuck Schumer and the Senate's version of the things that are going on there, as well as the President and his executive branch authority on the situation and those kind of things. The way the government is working is not talked about. It's really just about the two presidential ticket players and how they feel about the situation. That doesn't help me make a decision on who to support. Well, maybe it does, because I'm not going to support either anyway. If that's what I'm trying to do, if I'm going into this looking to be like, who do I want to vote for in November? Okay, that's a reasonable story to look into. But if it's this is a story about a situation that's important to me, how do we solve it? That's not what the story's doing anymore. Unless the argument is we solve it by voting for person A or B, which I don't think is the case. I don't think it's an honest version of the case.
I think that was just a depiction of that particular story. Like their story was about the mess that's going on at the border and Trump's feelings upon it and his influence upon it.
All right. This is one of those...
Versus someone that actually is the current commander-in-chief that has more sway over what may or may not happen at the border.
I don't know. See, this is one of those. This is one of those where I think I'm crazy. I think I'm crazy because I overanalyze these things. Because I think there's only two options at play for anybody in these conversations.
I think you're picking one particular story on a controversial topic, and seeing that one particular story and seeing it as their whole viewpoint about the entire topic itself.
But I do that all the time.
Where I think that story was, as you said, as the title or whatever was how this is what's going on and Trump's role in it.
But that's what I'm saying. That's what I think I'm struggling with, is that I think I do that all the time on almost all the topics. At least when I'm touching like NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News.
You're trying to look
MSNBC,
at the interconnectedness of it,
because it doesn't make sense any other way to me. That's the problem. Is like I think I'm either the smartest person around or I'm fucking crazy. It's the only options I have in my head right now. It really is. As far as politics and governance go nationally, not locally. Locally is a little different, but nationally and maybe even on the state level, either I am special somehow because I can see it so simply and so clearly every time I look at it, or I'm fucking crazy. That's the only options that make sense in my head.
You see no option C?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I guess option C could be I'm really, 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 really dumb, but that's tantamount to fucking crazy. So, I mean, it's so stupid that I'm crazy, or like I'm literally crazy. It doesn't make sense.
Or they're just slightly misinformed.
Like you sent me that story on Richard Briggs, which made national news, I guess, because I was on NPR.
Yeah, they interviewed him.
What was my response? It was not a very nice one. Briggs, come on my show. I would love you to come on my show. My feelings about you as a senator are unimportant to why I want you to speak your mind and tell your story on my show. My opinion of you is unimportant. Pretty sure I said he was a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I guess for like changing, but this was I guess he was one of the main maybe sponsors of the trigger bill. I guess that was passed in
I didn't really read it because I didn't think anything was actually going to happen. Right,
2020 or whatever.
Right. I didn't think
you saw it as him actually not reading it, but and I think that was your false impression there, in that you thought that it was just something he signed off on and agreed to, but he was actually, I guess, I don't want to call him one of the framers of it, but I guess he was one of the main proponents.
Right,
one of the main sponsors of it.
It got whittled and moved before it came back to the broader House. I think it got whittled and moved in the House side, not in the Senate side. But when it came back as the Senate revised version to match the House, is when it added or when it took away any exceptions and stuff like that, which he was down with. He thinks, because he's a doctor, he understands the medical necessity for some of these things, right?
But even this, it's a very small caveat. I think what he was for was a non-viable pregnancy,
health and welfare.
I don't know if he's trying to play a little bit of both sides.
I think he is. He's not on cycle this year, so he doesn't have to worry about the election part of it. Yeah. But I think as a doctor, he went, this is way too far. This went way too far.
All right. I think this is kind of, I don't know.
This went way further than I
call it, but it's basically he is carving out a very small niche, and I'll applaud him for doing something. But it's basically, it's not forcing a mother to carry a non-viable fetus to, I don't even know what you would call it.
To miscarriage?
Yeah, basically.
To the eventual miscarriage if it's going to happen because it's not viable.
Which, I mean, it's something, but I don't think it's really adding much to what I personally think.
Well, he was one of the guys on this hemp bill too. That he's like, you know what, we can't put this genie back in the bottle, so let's put some regulatory framework in place. And then he is blindsided by what eventually it becomes. And it's like, this is your fucking job. This is your job. These are what you do. And these are specific to you. And especially now, I didn't realize that part of it. Especially if you're the one that started the process on this thing before the Roe v. Wade got overturned in the first place. You started the process. You put a framework in place that when Roe v. Wade, boom.
I was thinking our trigger bill went back further, but I think the story I heard talked about.
I think it's been a couple versions over time, and this was the most recent.
I guess it was the more recent one.
And so it's just like
when they probably heard that that was coming down the pipe,
right? And so it's just like, dude, what are you doing? I mean, I think the writing was on the wall when Trump got the presidency. RBG screwed everything up by not retiring while Obama was still president. I think those two. I think because who was it? RBG died. Who else did? Because Obama or Trump got 3. I
think so. Yeah,
appointees.
Yeah.
They stalled the shit out of whoever is the
Merrick Garland.
Yeah, they stalled the shit out of Merrick Garland right before Trump took office, so he got to replace that one, whoever that one was supposed to be. Then RGB, and then one more. What's Amy Cohen,
yeah,
Sacha Baron Cohen. That one. Why did my maps just open? That's weird. And so I think when these appointees started happening is when it started becoming like, oh shit, this might actually happen. Either way, I think Briggs needs to get replaced. I think Briggs is under the same boat as Biden to me in age issues, as well as Trump for that matter. There's tons of people that are too goddamn old that need to get out of there. I was talking to one of my neighbors down in the holler today about this event and some of the issues that we're having with the city and the ordinances in the city for alcohol in public spaces and blah, 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 blah. And we're trying to work all this out. And, he was talking about this dude's been down in the holler forever. And, the holler's got a history. And it ain't necessarily the prettiest of histories. Apparently, I learned this today. Apparently, the holler was where you went to get a hooker until about 5 years ago. Since the 90s. If you needed a hooker in Knoxville, you went to the holler because that's where they worked. We still got a couple. I don't really give a shit. Prostitution's cool with me. I don't pay for it. I'm not going to pay for it. If you want to pay for it, get you some. Doesn't bother me at all. But, anyway. So Holler's got some history, and he was talking about how, he's concerned about, and I was like, yeah, dude, that's what we're trying to fix. We want to take that stank off the holler. We want the holler to be a cool place to hang out. That's what we're chasing down here. But his thing was like, I was like, and I think the city's coming around to it. The city's trying hard to do more nightlife, to do more entertainment, to do more stuff so that the citizens have some cool things to do around town, not just one or two places to go, but different little subsections of town that have different feel and different vibe to them. And I think the Holler's got a really cool vibe that if we, nurture it correctly, that it'll be a very cool nightlife spot and it'll be very unique and specific. You're not going to get another place in the Southeast that I can think of that's going to have a little neighborhood nightlife spot like the Holler is going to be when I'm done with it. Me. Anyway, I think it's good. I think it's a cool spot, regardless of my personal stake financially in what's going on in the Holler. I think it's a cool spot. I think it has potential. It's very unique. In the different stores that are down there, you have the oldest continually operating movie theater in Tennessee is in the Holler.
Huh.
Central Cinema. I found Max's wife found a really cool picture from the 20s of the Holler, of our side of the street at the Holler, and it's a movie theater, and I think it's a hardware store where we are now.
Right.
But like you look at the picture, other than it being a grainy black and white, the front of that building is exactly the fucking same.
Yeah.
It's so cool. From the 20s, like 100 years old. The front of this building is 100 years old. It hasn't changed a fucking bit other than stickers and shit that we put on it, as well as the prior tenant, not just us. It might be the same damn glass. This might be 100+ year old glass that we have.
Possibly.
Parts of it. I mean, we have a couple bullet holes in our glass.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I like it. It's fun. They're old. I mean, they're 22s. They're tiny little holes. Anyway, the whole story about my neighbor in the Holler and all that kind of stuff is he's an older guy. He's older. He's 15, 20 years my senior, and he was kind of joking about how these old politicians are part of the problem. I was like, yeah, but they're starting to phase out. Don't worry about it. We're getting rid of them. It's happening. I mean, city council's in their 40s. Most city council is 40 or less. Mike McMillan died. Bummer. He's an old fuck.
That, yeah.
He's a super old fuck, but he did die. So that's the oldest member of school board is now not. It's probably Gina. Not Gina. Who's probably the oldest member of school board? I'll have to look into that, see who the oldest member of school board now, because the average went way down because it was like, I mean, Owens is probably like 50. What do you think Jennifer was? What do you think Jennifer Owens is?
Yeah, maybe.
I think Christy's about the same, 40s, like upper 40s, mid 50s, somewhere in that range. Most of the ones that I met and talked to were in their mid 50s, upper 40s, mid 50s. I don't think, other than Mike McMillan, I don't think anybody was over 55, maybe 60, and so. That the average age of school board probably dropped 7 years because of that.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't know much about Mike McMillan. I'm not trying to be flippant about him. It's a bummer he's dead. I'm not trying to say I'm excited he's dead or anything.
Apparently he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Apparently he had a lot of stories and jokes.
He got in trouble for falling asleep in meetings.
Ah.
Which old people do. It's fine. I ain't mad at him.
Sometimes they go into like the early evenings.
Yeah. And especially when they're these long-ass meetings that have nothing to do with schools. Like, I mean, I can't blame them. Right. At some point, you get bored from listening to people say the same thing over and over again and just fall asleep. I ain't mad at them.
These roads outside the schools, it's like, I can't do anything on the school board about the roads.
Well, it's like, it was in the middle of like COVID stuff and the state shut the schools down. It's like, why are the schools closed? We need our kids to be back in school. They need to be in school. They need to be in school. It's like, anybody want to tell these idiots that it's not our decision? No. That's the one thing about school board that drives me nuts. It's one thing about county commission that drives me nuts. The one thing about city council that drives me nuts. Like, none of them will just say, listen, people, it's not us. This isn't our job. What you're complaining about has nothing to do with this room. The people in this room can't fix what you're upset about. They never do. They never do it. County commission didn't do it in all the pandemic shit when there was all this whole fucking craziness about the health department. Health department is an entity of the state. Knox County has no control over the health department.
Sure, when they tried to at some extent.
Nope. Not at the meeting I went to, at least. They just sat there and just listened to people yell about things that they had nothing to do with.
Maybe they thought it was better to not just try and deflect.
No, honestly, you want the truth. The truth to me is that I don't know. Maybe in their orientation meeting, I think somebody somewhere says, "Listen, we want people to have the illusion that they're doing something when they come and do public speaking,
airing their grievances. So
your job is to listen to them, whether or not it has anything to do with you guys, because they want to feel like they've been heard."
Maybe that's why more people don't or think that their local government isn't doing anything for us, because they keep going there. Like, I keep going to the meetings, and I keep saying my stuff, and they're not doing a damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get down to it. If you want to go, if you want to say something to a body in Knoxville that has real effect, you go to county commission, you go to city council, or you go to planning commission, and you talk about land use. Yeah, that's about it. City council, we can talk about, noise ordinance and beer ordinance and stuff like that, and alcohol use in public spaces. I'm going to go down and have a conversation about that one of these days. I'm going to try to pitch them redistricting. There's been talks about moving these what they're basically making a designation called an entertainment district, where there's a different set of ordinance rules than there is in other places, which is what they're doing downtown currently. And I don't know what I have to do to make it so that the holler falls under the same set of ordinances. But I'm going to go make my pitch to them at some point about that thing, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be on CTV and look like an idiot because I'm going to mumble and talk about my podcast instead of pitching what I'm there for. But I had Elaine Davis come out. Finally got to meet her in the flesh. She came out to my scout meeting. She didn't know what to say, and I said, "Hey guys, if you have some problems with schools, if you want issues with the schools, if you're talking about money in the schools, this is the person to talk to." To which she was like, no, your school board's very important. It's like, I'm not saying the school board's not important. But if you want to talk about the issues that are really going on in schools, material, curricula, all that kind of shit, this person, not your school board. Because your school board has fuck all to do with that. Now, the school board does have some play.
You would think they would welcome that, I guess, like power, unless they know that most people don't see that choice and decisions
they don't
being
want to deal
made
with the flack, because the people that care about it are the people that are upset.
Yeah.
And if I can let somebody else have to listen to the flack,
like, oh, no, talk to your school board.
Blame somebody else, especially blame somebody else for the flack, it's not going to mess with my electoral status. I get to keep my job, and I don't have to listen to these idiots yell at me.
Yeah.
Can't get much better than that. So, yeah. I mean, what was the other sports thing? I just Oh, we did it. Yeah, we did the NIL thing. I don't know. Did we cover the Swifties appropriately? I think we. I mean, we missed the whole.
I don't want to go.
We missed whole segments of it. There's whole.
I didn't want to go over like the multiple conspiracies of it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the Swiftie thing. I don't know. I mean, I think on a very lay level version of it, like I can understand the annoyance of a football fan having to deal, like, I guess a better way to put it, I can understand, like, and again, in the same way the Kaepernick thing and other stuff. Like, I remember when I was younger, when I was in high school, middle school, like, where I would get up and get ready for school, and I would watch SportsCenter like 3 times in a row while I was getting ready for school. Because all they did was show sports. Like, all they did was show highlights, they showed games, they talked about who won, who lost, they talked about injuries, they talked about that kind of stuff. But somewhere in the last couple of years, SportsCenter has become a lot more about politics and outside of the sports than it used to be. And I think sports fans don't want that. And I think it's clear in ESPN's numbers that sports fans don't like that, and they've quit watching. There's less viewership than there used to be because of it. Maybe not because of it. Maybe they're... we have the internet now, and people are going online to watch their versions of sports shows and shit like that. But I don't like fucking Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis? Yeah, like Ray Lewis like murdered a guy in a nightclub. And SportsCenter barely touched it as a topic.
Really?
Like 15 years ago. I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't Ray Lewis. I apologize. I'm not trying to defame you, Mr. Ray Lewis. Please don't come to my house and murder me too. But there's
I think he may have passed.
No, Ray Lewis, he's still alive. He was on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago with the Manning brothers.
I thought there was a former. I think he was a Raven. I want to say there was some kind of big name Raven that had passed in the recent years, but I may be misremembering.
But I mean, you got these you had guys out there that were getting arrested, getting in trouble for shit, and they barely covered that on SportsCenter. They only covered it because it affected, like, they were missing games. They got suspended. The NFL fined them, whatever, that kind of stuff. But they didn't cover it as, like, a news station covering a famous person getting arrested. They just said, hey, whoever got arrested, their NFL has fined them X, and they're suspended for 3 games. Like, that's how ESPN used to cover outside of sport. They were sports people, but they focused on, this is the games that you missed last night. Here are the highlights. Here's the cool shit that happened. Here's some stat stuff. Next game. That's what SportsCenter used to be. But now it's gotten into more of talking about the politics, talking about the outside of the game stuff, and it's like sports fans don't want that. Sports fans want to talk sports and what's going on in sports and how their team's doing and who won the game and that crazy ass fucking catch the dude made. That's what sports fans want when they're ingesting sports. You can go over here for politics. You can go over here for crime. You know, I can listen to my true crime podcast if I want to hear about crime stuff.
What other politics? What politics are they getting into?
I mean, again,
I don't watch it, so I don't know.
Not to bring the Kaepernick thing back up, but like the Kaepernick thing was a constant all the time on SportsCenter for weeks and weeks and weeks.
A good chunk of time ago, but yes, that was in the forefront of just general society.
I mean, and again, I think...
But it had to do with sports.
SportsCenter is talking about Taylor Swift all the time right now because Taylor Swift and the Chiefs games are hot topics. And that's what bothers sports fans about it. I get it.
How much they talked about that much. I mean, some of the reporting was the fact that, you know, Monday Night Football or whatever, you know, the camera kept panning back up there to her. And some of it was just pointing out up the absurdity of, like, hey, we're at Monday Night Football of two, you know, major pro teams, and, you know, every single commercial break, we're going up to Taylor Swift.
Right. Again.
So at some point, some of them were pointing out the absurdness of
the coverage of it, yes.
Of going back to Taylor Swift.
I get it. But they're still talking about it, and that's the thing. It's like, I agree with you on the absurdness. I still don't want to hear about it. I want to see Mahomes' crazy left-handed over-the-shoulder throw instead of, you know...
Yeah, what little like sports recaps I've watched are focused wholly on sports.
Right, and that's what... And
but outside of that, and you're going to Kaepernick, which was, what, like 5-6 years ago at least?
More than that, but...
I mean, outside of
I
that,
haven't watched it
don't
either.
know.
I quit watching it because of shit like
that.
that.
But you're saying that it's gone more political, and I think I don't know that. I think
I've seen.
How the fuck can you say that if you're not saying that you've watched it as of late?
Okay, I will try to make it, and I'll try to make it occasion to make some notes on it. I mean, it's on in the background often at work, but I'll try to make some notes on specifics of it. But fine, I apologize. I can't say that because I have not witnessed it personally. I've only heard it third hand.
Your examples
I've only
are very
heard it
outdated.
third hand from people reporting on how much, and this goes back to the Disney struggle, which goes back to the conspiracy theory thing, how much Disney is struggling financially because of all their major properties, ESPN being one of them, is struggling in income issues. And ESPN is struggling in income issues because they're having a hard time getting ad dollars and getting sponsorships and getting all this stuff put in place, and they're having a hard time getting ad dollars in place because people aren't watching SportsCenter like they used to. And again, I acknowledge that a good chunk of that is probably because people are going online to consume it from random weirdos like, you know, me. Not that I'm doing sports coverage, but, you know, people doing podcasts that have no official broadcast power or anything like that.
Right. They can still talk about the game.
Right. And, you know, like, you know,
give
you got
commentary on
Barstool,
it.
Like, Barstool has a huge audience for it. And one of Barstool's big things is that they avoid non-sport talk on their talk shows at all costs. We're not talking about other stuff. We're not talking about the things over here. They do have a couple shows that are specifically, but that's how they're branded. This is the politics of sports show. Because Portnoy can't help himself at this point, which is probably hurting his own brand, but he can't help himself. Portnoy,
I've heard the name.
I love his pizza reviews. Portnoy pizza reviews are fun. They're just fun. They're random. They're arbitrary as fuck. It's just a dude trying pizza. He has no rhyme or reason to why he does it. He just gives them really weird scores, and that's it. His pizza reviews are great. They're funny. But anyway, yeah. So we get Taylor Swift to the Super Bowl. We're going to hear about it. We're going to continue to hear about it. That's the way it is. Have we talked Israel? Have we talked this Palestine-Israel
Super Bowl's already rigged, man.
I don't buy it. Okay, I'll finish that. On the conspiracy part of it, there's no fucking way you're going to get a group of 75 alpha males to... I
mean, even outside of the players, you've still got multiple referees you would have to...
Sure.
cajole.
I'm just saying this on one... Just on one team. So, like I'm a Packers fan. There's no way you're going to get a group of 75 or whatever rostered players and immediate coaches to throw a game to get a matchup that you want in a Super Bowl, and not a single one of them opens their mouth.
Well, I mean, right. I mean, I agree
don't
with
care
you.
How
that.
much money?
But I mean,
Because-
even in actuality, I mean, you could pay off a quarterback and could definitely have a definite change in the tides of the game.
Yeah, but I'd still say you're
So, I
going
mean,
to have
it
a
wouldn't
hard
take
time,
down to convincing a whole team. You can
you're gonna have a
convince
tou-
one or two
but
key
you're gonna
players.
Have a real hard time getting those two players to keep that secret from the other 60, 70 players.
Right.
Yes.
Or
theoretically.
wanting to not win the Super Bowl. It's like, I don't care, man. Like, I want the Super Bowl. Like, I want that motherfucking ring.
Yeah. You know, I don't disagree that there are a few key players that you could probably, if you could get them to take the bribe or take the enticement to throw the game or whatever, that they actually had the ability to do it. But man, you're talking, you know, practices and scrimmages and games and plane rides and all that stuff, them keeping that secret through the whole process. I mean, you know, like you have a center and a quarterback, and that quarterback's the guy you pay off. That center who's been with that quarterback all year.
I mean, that's why you keep the numbers low. I mean, you only do it to like one or two people.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like if you pay the quarterback off to throw the game, that center is going to be like, he never does that. He would never do that. That doesn't make any sense. Why would he make that decision at that time? There's no way that you wouldn't have at least some serious questions out there by other players on
I mean,
why
you leave
a
it to your
particular
throws.
decision.
They're like, oh shit, I overthrew it. Oh fucking underthrew it.
Nah, I mean, no. Those guys know them better than that. Like it's so precise. They know each other better than that.
I mean, even on like regular days that I'm assuming, you know, quarterbacks aren't paid off, still have shitty fucking days and throw
Sure they
5 interceptions or whatever.
Sure, they do, but they do that
any given Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know. I'd still say that you're going to have a hard time not having a number of players on the team not asking questions like that. That's just so out of character for him. Even on his bad day version of, he doesn't make that decision. He might make a bad decision, but not that one. Like it might be there might be an ABC in a situation, and the wrong decision was B and C, but C is so fucking wrong you never make that decision. He never would, and that's the one he did in this one scenario. There's no way.
That's what I say. I think
it.
he would limit it to just a throw. Like, oh, should have made a bad throw.
Yeah, I don't buy that you're going to be able to keep that secret.
Yeah.
Same reason why I don't think aliens actually. Which is why I don't think the alien thing is true from Burchett. I don't think we have aliens. I don't think the U.S. government has possession of alien craft. There's too many people that you got to keep their mouth shut. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, that's what I've heard kind of reported on the faux, initial lunar landing. They've talked about it like how many people at NASA would you have to pay off? Like there's no way with that many people with knowledge of this that you would have to pay off to keep that a secret that somebody didn't fucking talk.
Yeah, there's no way. It's like
the amount of people that were
and
involved
for the amount of
in
time. I mean, and the amount of time we're at this point.
Apollo 11.
Right, it was the 60s.
Right, it was like 69 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, first maybe a year or so you might be able to keep it under wraps.
It was all just a studio.
It's going to spin out and spin out and spin out because there's no way you get for 1,000 reasons there's 1,000 people with 1,000 reasons when the occasion arises to talk. Get a little drunk, talking on a stupid podcast with somebody who doesn't know shit about shit, and accidentally say it.
That's the thing. That many people are involved. Like there's no way that we've gone this far that somebody wouldn't have talked.
The JFK one's the only one that I'm a little bit convinced on. That somehow they kept that one under wraps. That's the one. That's the only one. Because I don't doubt that Oswald had something to do with it. I don't know. I think there's more going on to that one than we know about. And I think the key players that might be able to spill the beans on it are pretty much either. I think there were so few people that were so. It's a small enough conspiracy that there were so few people that had direct knowledge of what is actually happening that they're either dead or there was only a handful of them that was easy to keep it. There wasn't a lot. There wasn't a huge number of people.
I mean, I'll agree that there's some plausible scenarios surrounding that because apparently I guess he'd pissed off like some of the mafia, so there was like organized crime that was alluded to have been involved in it.
The one that I believe, that I truly believe, and this is the grossest one, and I probably shouldn't say in some online format where where AI will put me under the NSA's watch or whatever. I believe that the Department of Defense did it. I think it was the CIA, whatever. I think I think the fact that Kennedy refused to go deeper on Cold War stuff, that he was actually functionally trying to get us out of the Cold War. He was trying to fix relations with Russia. Was trying not to get a hot war going, is why he got killed. I think Department of Defense. I put it on the Department of Defense. If I was going to,
You think they wanted to further the Cold War?
Sure. What was which one was it? There's it's come out. It's been declassified now. There was what was it? They were going to fly a commuter plane and shoot it down off the coast of Cuba with a bunch of dead people already in it, but they were going to, it was a bunch of cadavers basically they were going to load this plane with.
Yeah.
So they weren't going to kill anybody when they shot the plane down. They were going to shoot the plane down, blame it on Cuba so we can go into Cuba.
That's the plot of a TV show I really liked.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's an actual, that's actually been declassified at this point. And they brought it to Kennedy's desk and he said, no, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
We're not invading Cuba. And apparently the Bay of Pigs was outside of his knowledge and he was really pissed off about it.
Yeah.
And then you had the mafia thing, and you had other stuff. Again, I don't know. There's a handful. There's a lot of people that wanted him dead, but I think I would put I don't know. I would put that on a lot of different subsets of things. I think since post World War II, the military industrial complex has had a lot of control and a lot of power in moving parts and pieces as far as international diplomacy goes, and they have ends that they want to get to, and it doesn't matter what elected peoples want to do with those ends. Have we talked to Israel yet? I was going to bring that up. Do you want to go down this rabbit hole, or you want to leave that one alone?
I mean, what aspect would you like to talk on?
I don't know. I don't understand. It goes back to the beginning of it. I think we did talk about it back in October when this first kind of went off. I don't understand why we give a shit about Israel. Same thing. I mean, it's kind of the same stuff with Ukraine. It's the inverse of the same stuff with Ukraine. We're the bad guy. In my opinion, we're the Russia in the Ukraine. We're the good guys in the Ukraine side. We're trying to support an independent nation to keep their independence. That's a good guy to me.
Also given aid to the Palestinians.
Sure.
I'd say we've probably done more deals with Israel just because they're
a democracy in the Middle East, and we need to keep that shit tight.
I mean, they're, I guess, a recognized country where Palestine is not. So, I mean...
Right, that's one of my confusions. I still don't understand what Palestine is on the international stage, other than a segment of a country.
I don't know if they have, a seat at, the UN or anything like that.
I don't believe they do. I did see that South African thing got... it's plausible, according to the International Court of Justice or whatever. It's plausible that Israel is currently...
Yeah, they basically...
It's not happening per se, but it's not happening.
Yeah,
it's plausible that they are committing genocide.
Directed them to try to limit civilian deaths. And I think there's already been... I don't think they that South Africa added any kind of addendum to it, but... I think at some point has, written some kind of formal letter back to the...
I think South Africa was making my point from the last time we talked about this. Palestine is an apartheid state. South Africa knows all about that shit. And they see it for what it actually is.
Well, they're basically saying that Israel has committed acts of genocide.
Right. Which is what the old South African government was doing to this apartheid part of South Africa during... their version of the same thing. It's we know what this is. We've seen this. We were part of this thing. We were the victims of this kind of bullshit in years past. That's why we see it so clearly.
Apartheid and genocide are a little different.
I mean, yes. Insofar as genocide would be the ultimate goal of an apartheid state.
Yeah, I don't think the apartheid state advocated for just the...
You're right. Now they didn't
elimination.
They didn't officially advocate for the elimination of the subclass that they created, but they made a subclass that said you don't exist within the framework of the law. All the stuff that we do in this nation doesn't apply to you. You don't have any rights that the rest of us have.
Right.
Which is exactly what Israel has done to Palestine prior to, and is now militarily acting upon. I don't get it. I don't give a shit about Palestine or Israel for that matter. I don't fucking care. What I do care about is that bombs with the U.S. flag on it are dropping on hospitals in Palestine, and there's going to be a whole generation of kids that grow up without their parents, pissed off at the people that killed their parents, and it's going to be Israel and us. That's what I care about. And I don't see how this is... best case scenario, we don't have a hot war tomorrow. But 20 years from now, we have another 9/11 because we have a whole generation of Palestinian kids that are as pissed off as Osama bin Laden was. That's what I see happening. That's our best case scenario, in my opinion. I think we got a hot war with Iran if fucking Lindsey Graham and his fucking cadre of douche canoes get their way.
I was just reading that we just attacked parts of
We've been bombing
Iraq
Yemen,
and
we've been bombing Syria. We've been bombing...
Yeah, it was Iraq and Syria, I guess we just did not long ago.
Yeah. And then we just lost 3 Georgia kids, 3 kids from Georgia in the National Guard. Not even fucking regular Army people. National Guard's persons, because at least one of them was a girl.
Is that the Jordanian base?
Yeah. Got killed by some rebel group, whatever, that's associated with Iran, who doesn't...
Yeah, an Iran-backed militia or something.
Right. Iran says they didn't tell them to do it, and they say Iran didn't tell us to do it, but Lindsey Graham still says we need to go invade Iran right now.
Yeah, it's one of those, the optics of, like, well, you supported this, supposedly.
I don't give a shit. Like, that's the point. It's like why are we...
But that's our reasoning for blaming Iran.
Sure,
is we're saying that
why do we
Iran backed this.
Why do we have like 3,000 soldiers, which apparently a bunch of them are National Guard... Not National Guard, but Army Reserves. Sorry, I apologize. I've misspoken the first time. Why do we have like 3,000 soldiers in Jordan right now anyway?
I don't think it was that many. I want to say that base was like a semi-secretive base. So
okay.
I don't see that base being wholly... I'm just saying...
I mean, I know that there was...
By your description of it, I don't see a majority of... 3,000 would be... It's a very large
Okay,
number
3 kids
of people
died and like 30-something were injured.
Right.
Significantly. At least notably injured. So, okay.
You're asking why do we have a base there?
Right. Why do we have 100... Why do we have... Okay, it's 30... Why do we have 35 U.S. soldiers in Jordan?
I mean... Part of the question, I mean, do you want to ask why we have bases throughout the world?
Yes, sure. Let's have that. Like, yeah. Why? How does that help? Like, how does that change my ability to go to work tomorrow? Like, that's my... Like, I know you hate this argument for me. And I know you don't like it. And I'm not trying to pick on you on it and personally. It's like, but why? Like, why? And especially in reservists. Like, if you're like, you know, if you volunteer to go to the fucking Army, okay. That makes a little bit of sense that we're going to put you in a situation where you might get murdered. As a Department of Defense standpoint of it. But you went into the reserve. The reserve is supposed to be, at least this is my understanding.
So what is your question? Why we have troops there, or why are we putting reservists there?
No, just troops in general. I'll start. I'll stick with that one for the conversation's sake.
Okay.
Why do we have a single... how do I word this? What's the word? Why do we have a single non-covert U.S. fighter in any other country in the world? I'll put it that. Yeah, that seems fair. I like that one. I like that way. Yeah, that's the verbiage I want to use.
We have allies we coordinate with.
Okay, is Jordan an ally?
I'm assuming so. I don't think they would allow us to have a base there if we didn't have some kind of friendly ties. I don't think they would be strong-armed and like, you're just going to let us have a base here and they're just going to go along with it.
I mean, I think we would, but...
I mean, there is...
Okay,
I'm assuming there is some kind of conjunction to where we do military training with them. We train their soldiers.
I'm sorry to do this.
All right.
I don't want to do the AC thing, but like, what is coordinate? What does that mean? Like, what are we coordinating about?
Coordinating?
That's what you said. There's nations around the world that we coordinate with. That was your... I'm sorry. Let's back up. Did I misunderstand you? Why do we have a single non-covert U.S. combatant in another country? Your answer was we coordinate with other countries.
Yes, on regional security issues. Yeah,
on regional security issues.
Correct.
Okay. Didn't say that the first time, but that's fine. I'm not.
No, I didn't say those specific.
That's fine. No, I'm not arguing that point. It doesn't matter.
I mean, like coordinate, but we do Just right now, I mean, I think we're doing or we've been doing in the past like month or so. It's like a yearly military drills we do with South Korea, and we do it almost every year with people in Eastern Europe as well. We do the war games or whatever. Right.
And the South Korean one is a specific one, and I actually can kind of get behind that one. It makes sense.
Why?
Because we are in a
Why?
We're in a warm Cold War with North Korea. We've been that way since the 50s.
Why? So why do we have? Explain to me why you think it's okay that we have troops in South Korea right now.
Because there's an active, at least as far as I understand it, there is an active threat to the United States and its citizens by the current leadership of North Korea. An explicit active threat.
That's why we're doing war games with South Korea?
Yes, we're preparing ourselves to be capable of going to war with North Korea, with our ally South Korea right next door. Yes. That makes sense to me. Why we continue to put up with Kim Jong, whichever one it is, and his bullshit, I don't really understand either, but that goes into alliances and background bullshit.
Hey, man, that's Trump's rocket man. Don't fucking piss on him.
I mean,
Trump loves the guy. They're friends.
Hey,
they're buddies. He sent him a mixtape. It's awesome.
I would think that if you have somebody who says he wants to kill you and your friends, sitting down and talking to them in the flesh would not be considered a bad thing. At least having some conversation with him and being able to talk to him. And then going back to your people and telling them, we're friendly dudes. He's a cool guy. Might not be the worst thing ever as far as diplomatic relations goes.
Are we friendly with him?
Military and according to the U.S. government,
I think he fucking hates us.
I'm sure. I think he does too. But
so which one is? Are we friendly with him?
If he likes our commander in chief, and that keeps him that takes him one more step to fucking send a nuclear rocket over into our backyard, then I'm not going to say that's a bad thing.
Now we should placate dangerous people.
Placate? What do you mean placate? Did we give him something? Did we just other than trying to put off a feel that we're friends instead of enemies for a minute? Did we give him anything? Did we?
That's not placating them? Pretending to be their friend?
I mean,
or being nice to them?
Is it sure? If placating lessens the chance that he's going to throw a nuke over here, then sure, yes, we should placate it.
To what end?
To what do you mean to what end? Maybe he'll fucking die before anything actually happens? I don't know.
And that'll make things better. Well, we were friends.
Okay.
That clears us forever, right?
What is your solution then to the complicated issue of the U.S. and North Korea relations?
I don't have a solution, but I don't think that necessarily. I don't disagree with wanting to have some kind of diplomatic tie and dialogue. There's a difference between having that and pretending to be buddy with someone.
I mean, yes, I understand your statement, but I don't know if that's true. Like, I just don't know if that's functionally true.
I mean, where do you draw that line to where you're then perceived as an ally of someone that you're saying, hey, I met this guy, he's not a bad guy, we're friends, we trade, GIF images all the time. And
so
TikTok videos. I send him funny stuff, and he sends me funny stuff.
Right, I get what you're saying. And so the concern would be that
he's not a bad guy.
That this guy that I'm telling everybody's my buddy all of a sudden does something shitty. Are we obliged because we said we were buddies to support his shitty decision? Or are we obliged to be like, that was a shitty thing that he did? I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Or does it make things that much worse? Be like, you just said you were my friend, and then now you're turning against me. That's going to make me hate you that much more.
Oh, wow. Okay. I don't know. I mean, yes, I agree. There's 10,000 ways that any version of this conversation could spill out into any version of a future version.
I'm not talking about any version.
Absolutely.
I'm not talking about an astronomical possibility of something happening. As far as if you are then trying to be nice to try to keep someone from attacking you.
Yeah.
What level of niceness are we bringing to them to keep them happy, or as I like to say, placate?
I mean, I think that is the totality of the point of international relations. Is you are placating to the point where it's no longer in your best interest. I suppose would be where the line would be. That would be your job as a diplomat. Is sure thing, Kim. Right. Whatever you need, whatever's going to make you happy, whatever going to keep you from doing the thing that I don't want you to do until X. There's a line here. I can't go past that line. Yes. We're friends. We're great. We're great. He's a cool dude. I'll see if I can get Dennis Rodman to come play basketball with you, bro. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time. Let's chill. If that's what you need to not fucking send a nuke our way, let's do it. Whatever it is, I don't care. But there's a line. The line is you can't do this. And if you cross that line, then all of my friendship shit's out the window. I don't know how that's diplomatic relations in all aspects. I would think.
To an extent. I mean, I agree. It is a very delicate balance.
I'm going to take away what I can to show you that I'm not happy with what you're doing, and I'm going to give you everything I can when I am happy with what you're doing. But at the end of the day, both parties know that both parties are going into it with their own personal best interest at heart. Now, whether that personal best interest is their individual as a human being or their purpose in their role in government, that's a whole subset of bullshit. But if we're going to give the benefit of the doubt that at least the actor that we send in that place, whether it's Trump or the Secretary of State or whatever it is, that they're acting in the best interest in their role, yeah, we should have as many conversations with as many people as often as possible, and we should be as friendly with, and we should tell everybody that we're friends as much as we can. I would think that would be, for the most part, a net positive. And it's placate as far as we can until until it crosses that line in the sand.
I thought you've more advocated isolationism. That we shouldn't have this.
No, we should have conversations, but we sure as shit don't need to have nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters out there getting just shot at because they happen to have a fucking flag on the side of their shirt. Our flag on the side of their shirt. Because some decision because one world leader in one nation that isn't ours, but we're really good friends with, made a decision to go kill his fucking neighbors, and we have this long-standing tie that whatever this guy does, we're on board with. Well, everybody that's related to anybody that's getting killed right now doesn't just hate the guy that's doing it in the first place, but the one person that supports him most, and our neighbors, literally our neighbors in the state next door, are getting fucking killed because a foreign leader made some fucking crazy decision. And functionally, really just to keep his own power, not because he gives a fucking shit about the fucking situation in the first place. But that's a whole separate thing. I don't need to go down that one. Whatever. I don't need to go down that one. That doesn't matter. Netanyahu retaliates for a terrorist attack by destroying a whole sub-nation, whatever the fuck we're going to officially call Palestine. That's what's happening. Iran, who is friendly with Palestine and the people of Palestine, or at least the current pseudo-government of Palestine that is the Houthis or whatever. Is it Houthis? Hezbollah. Hamas, yeah. Sorry, they're all Iran-backed.
Hezbollah is Jordanian.
They're all Iran-backed militias, whatever the fuck they are. So Benjamin Netanyahu gets pissed off because he got a terrorist attack. We know the feeling. We had our 9/11. We went and invaded Iraq for no fucking reason because of 9/11. We were stupid too. But at least,
and we went to Afghanistan.
When we did, we went out of our way and bent over backwards to not kill people that weren't involved. We didn't do great at it. But we tried. Like, I've got friends, people that I know and you know personally, who were over there. And their rules for engagement were so high.
As well they should be.
As well they should be. And Israel's version of rules engagement is... So, again, I get that. Like, I understand that as a nation who has been attacked and you're pissed off about it. We went through that. And we did it. And we did it with some sort of moral clarity that we're going to do our best to not kill women and children. And we didn't do a very good job of it, but we're doing a hell of a lot better than Israel is. And the problem here is we're not doing it this time, but we're going to get the blowback. It's not our flag on the shoulder of the guys that are marching through Palestine right now, killing people, but our flag and that flag are going to be the ones that are remembered.
We're seen as a major supporter of Israel, yes.
Yeah. And so my kids, who I hope to God don't bother going that path in their life, and I hope there's not a draft.
I wish we...
I was trying to explain this to our... Sorry, go ahead. You wish what?
I wish we, would have had a better hand in, moving the capital. That was sarcasm.
Oh, Trump's dumbass. Oh, we're in Jerusalem now thing? Whatever.
Yeah.
That was just our embassy. It wasn't the capital. We just moved our embassy.
Look, we have in a global stance, that is us basically saying that, like, we see this as the capital.
I mean, it doesn't help the relations with Iran and all the other parts, whatever. Again, same thing with Ukraine.
I mean, we were one of the major. Was it the Oslo Accords? It was Clinton, I believe. No, was it Clinton or Bush? Wasn't like their last big like peace
Clinton was the
peace
Oslo.
accords.
Trump did the Abraham.
The hell did they agree to in the Abraham Accords?
Fuck, I don't know. Kill each other less than they were before they signed the paper. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good title. I mean, it's Abraham Accords. Muslims, Christians, Jews quit killing each other.
Smooth things
We're
over.
all sons of Abraham.
Yeah. Smooth things over.
Look, I mean, it's the same. I mean, to me, the bottom line that really upsets me about this whole thing is it's the same issue that I keep pitching a fucking fit about in the Ukraine side.
Why do we care about people out there places?
We can care all we want. We have our own fucking problems. We have our own problems that cost our own money and our own things that aren't getting taken care of.
Our problems would be fixed had we not.
No, you're right. You're right. We can't fix a problem, so we shouldn't bother with it. So we should go fix other people's problems. You're right. That is the right solution. You're right. We can't fix it, so fuck it. Let's go.
I'm just saying it's false to believe that we're just like, oh well, if we hadn't done this or that, then things would be so much better here. It's not possible.
Sure. No. Maybe.
Our nation is able to be, and the world is able to be more stable if the rest of the world is stable. Which there's never going to be a point that the entire globe itself doesn't have some sort of instability
Who
at some.
Who the fuck made us the stabilizers?
When we made ourselves as stabilizers, we kind of injected ourselves post World War II. When we started going around thumping our chest saying we are number one, we're the greatest nation.
Well, I thought you start
saying that.
Why are you supporting that thing? You hate that fucking thing that we do.
I'm not supporting that.
You are, because you're saying it's our responsibility.
I'm not saying it's our responsibility. I'm saying we thrust ourselves into it, so now we've got to live up to the shit we've been talking.
That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make zero sense.
How not?
Because we're the greatest country in the world who has like the 51st like literacy rate and the 32nd, or no, we're like second in obesity and like all the major factors of being a decent society. We're fucking.
I'm not talking about rhetoric. I'm not talking about actuality. I'm talking about rhetoric.
Well, fuck rhetoric. I don't care about rhetoric, and I don't like my money paying for other people running their mouth about rhetoric that doesn't mean shit. Which is what confuses me about why we don't have to fucking keep this bullshit up. We don't have to. We're not obliged to. We don't know it. We don't know anybody.
If we ever want to decide to have some self-realization and focus in on the points that, like you were saying,
obviously
that
we don't
are
give a
so
shit about
far
some
behind
international court anyway. The international court only means something when we want it to be, but when we want to break it, we don't care.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I want to say it was like one of the main like Geneva Conventions that we didn't sign off on.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
That we still get that no one really points out, but every once in a while it kind of gets brought up that like we're one of like the few nations that didn't sign on to this or that.
What Israel is doing in Palestine that we support financially and governmentally and politically is minusculely different than what Russia is doing to Ukraine right now. Yet we want the international court to go after Putin for his actions, but we don't want him to go after Bibi for his.
I don't think you're making a good comparison there.
You're right. I'm sorry. Palestine.
I mean, and that would be us actually.
You're right. It wasn't a sovereign nation.
No, so and that we're not putting to compare us to Putin. That would be us putting our boots on the ground, taking over, assisting and taking over this country.
Right, but that would also be us,
a land, basically, not a sovereign nation, like you said.
All right, whatever. I guess you're right. Palestine's not a sovereign nation. It's weird, and complicated.
Well, no, I mean, if you're comparing us to Putin, we would have to be the main aggressing force. I mean, yes, Russia.
No, I was saying Putin and Bibi are the same person.
Okay,
legally speaking, in the International Court of Justice thing. Yet we want the International Court to go after Putin, but we don't want them to go after Bibi. Like we were one of like 2 in the international court system or whatever, however the fuck that shit works, that refused to acknowledge South Africa's request. Although our judge did say that it's so fucking weird.
I thought there was a good chunk. I thought there weren't that many people that actually signed on to with South Africa.
And there's like 2 countries. There were like whatever the judges placed there or whatever. There were 2, and it was not the U.S.'s that dissented on the ruling, and the ruling was that you're pretty goddamn close to a fucking genocide here, friends. Which, I mean, that's fucking war anyway. You know, if we're gonna go to war, let's go to fucking war. Let's get on to brass tacks. Glass, as the old saying goes, glass the desert and build something new on top. It's the way we've always done war before. You either take over and assimilate, or you completely destroy. That's the only way you win in war.
In some minds. I wouldn't agree, but...
How do you win a war?
And there's no real easy way. Hearts and minds, like we tried.
Yeah, that was a win.
Right. I mean, I don't think it was a bad
Look, I'm scared to
effort
death.
in theory.
It was, but it didn't mean anything, and there was nothing behind that. There was no strategy behind that. And honestly, we did. And realistically, we did. We tried. What little bits of strategy that were in place, we did. We just didn't have an end. You're never gonna root out an idea.
Part of it, but we also had bad actors. You had Abu Ghraib that happened in Iraq.
Sure, but you're never gonna kill an idea, and that was the problem with the war on terror. You're never gonna kill the idea,
right? And
especially, no matter how you try to kill the idea, you're going to make more people that agree with the idea, the more you kill trying to stop the idea.
That is also true. Yes.
You know, and so you're never going to win a hearts and minds war. You know, the way we won the Cold War, quote unquote, was Coca-Cola and Levi's.
To an extent, yeah.
You know, it's you better look, you know,
showing them a different option.
Right. But you're never going to win. You're never like, I don't know. I think that it's a hard one because like World War II kind of was like World War II is like you killed enough of us that okay, fine. That was the Germans' friend. Like, okay, you killed the boss, and you killed enough of my friends. I can't do this anymore.
I mean, they didn't really have much of a choice. I mean,
but it's also a state war, which is different, though. This isn't a state war. That's the thing about that's the difference. I think is that there's a state war where this is an idea war. The Israel-Palestine thing is an idea war because it's not Palestine versus Israel because Palestine isn't a state. It's Hamas or Hezbollah or some sort of Muslim subset of culture or whatever that just wants to exist in the way they want to exist, and they've been killed and killed and killed for so long that the only way to fight back against that is to do it dirty. There's no reason to play nice because we get killed all the time. We're going to play dirty. We can't win by playing nice. That's why terrorists exist. It's because you can't win by playing nice. Or when you can't win by playing nice. When there's not a legal structure in place to let you win by playing nice. I don't know. Again, I'm scared to fucking death. Like the thing to me, the bottom line underscore full stop. However, I can accentuate this to make this as clear as possible. The thing to me is, you know, I got a 13-year-old. You know, like I was telling them, we had a conversation on the way home from school with him and one of his buddies that he goes to school with, who's also 13. I was asking them, "Do you guys know what the selective service is?" No, you don't. It's like, well, when you turn 18 and you're technically an adult, even though you're not really an adult because you can't drink or smoke or do anything that most adults can do, yet you have to fill out a form that basically says, "Hey, government, if you want to take me and put me in danger to get killed for some wartime reason, whatever you decide is legitimate for it, you can pick me out at random and I can go." I didn't say it that way to the kids. Relax. Right. But essentially, it's like you're basically you put your name down, and if for whatever reason they need you to go fight, they're going to call your name and you're going to go fight. That's the bottom line. That's what it is.
We've had a few different major conflicts since that selective service was not brought into effect. So
you're right.
I don't fear that as much.
Well, I do. It scares the shit out of me.
I mean, I worried about it post 9/11. We were prime age.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit.
Yep. And realistically, probably because it was so shocking, and there's data to back this up. There's a huge amount of it. There's a huge enlistment.
Oh yeah.
in following the September, October of that year.
Right.
And so it's like, we didn't need to. And I mean, realistically, and for good or for bad, we have a huge standing army as it sits, and we have a huge reserve army, and then we have National Guard and stuff like that, which is a whole other subset of arguments about federal spending and blah, 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 blah. But we have the largest standing army in the world anyway.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, China maybe has a bigger one.
Pretty sure, yeah.
With the tech and stuff that we have, we should be able to annihilate them if we ever got into an actual ground war. Whatever. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. If we don't go nuke each other first. Either way. But like it's scary to me as a parent, as a father of boys. And, it's 2024. It shouldn't matter if I have boys or girls, but it does because the girls still don't have to do selective service. Just saying. Just throwing that part out there.
Okay.
It's kind of fucked up.
All right, are you waiting on me?
I don't know what to say to that. Like, I just wanted to kind of leave that out there to hang it for a little bit.
Okay.
I think that's fucked up. I don't think it's fucked up. I think it's. I don't know what I think about it. It's
still enough of the population that thinks they shouldn't be in the military anyway.
It's fucking stupid, though. If we're going to be in this fucking world where everything else is fucking gender fluid bullshit, then all right, feminists, congratulations. You get to go to war whether you want to or not to. But it scares me as a parent. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a stupid anti-feminist bullshit little rant. I apologize. That was unimportant to my point. I'm scared as a parent. I'm scared as a parent that we're going to start some shit right now with Iran this year, early next year. And I don't know. The one thing I guess that we're good at, if we're the U.S. and we get into military action, it lasts. We're not quick and easy. We're not boom and done. We're going to take 15, 20, 30 years. So my kid, whether he's selective service or he chooses to enlist or not, if this shit gets real hot, which it feels like it might, with Iran, with Jordan, with any of the other fucking crazy shit that's going on over there, let's put the benefit of the doubt that we don't get into the fucking draft and my kid's just dumb enough to enlist. That he's going to go over there, and he's going to turn into one of the kids that works for me, whom I love to death. They're great people. They're fucking broken, and they're broken because of what the Army did to them. And the Army doesn't put them back together before they put them back in society. And I don't want to do that. I've already raised him at this point. I don't want to put him back together as a dad. I don't want to do that. It scares the shit out of me. Like, I love the guys that work for me. I really do. There's 3 of them, and they're fucking broken. And because of who we are and what we do and how we do it, they love being with us. And I'm proud of the fact that I think we've helped them kind of
reassimilate. You didn't care about your employees.
I absolutely care about my employees. I have an intentional arm's length that I keep in place. But they're fucking broken, and they're broken because of what the Army or Navy or whatever the fuck they came back from did to them. Whether it was the Army and Navy and their training program in and of itself or what they had to go see and do. And I don't want that for my child. And I'm scared to death that he might choose to seek that path, or he might not have a choice and have to take it anyway. That scares the fuck out of me.
Cut the cord, bro.
Because why? I'd
say that jokingly, but at the same time,
no. Because why? Because why? Why are these kids that work for me broken? Why? What did we accomplish? Is the world fucking safer now? No. Does anything make a fucking difference now?
Can't say that for certain. You
fuck
can't.
That. Yes, we can.
Fuck that.
We could have not done it. It wouldn't have fucking mattered. We could have killed Bin Laden and felt good about ourselves or whatever. Nothing would have fucking changed without 20 years in Afghanistan. Absolutely could have done that. We didn't need to fucking take...
You got a crystal ball? You can see this?
We didn't need to spend fucking 20 years in Iraq taking out Saddam and all that kind of bullshit. It didn't make a fucking difference. The world stage, the shit doesn't fucking change. It's still here. That's what we're doing right now. That's what it was always about Iran anyway. It was always Iran and the terrorist state that the terrorist supporters that they are. That's what it was back then. That's what it is today. 20, 30 years, thousands, hundreds of thousands of kids come back broken. The Army and the U.S. government doesn't give a shit about them when they get back. And here we are. And I'm sorry, I don't want my kids to be one of those. I'm a fucking dick. I will own that title. I'll tattoo that shit on my head. I don't want one of my kids to be one of these Afghani kids that came back from, one of these kids that came back from Afghanistan because of the dumbass, no fucking reason to be there that we already did. If that makes me a bad citizen or whatever, fine. I hate it. I fucking hate it. And I'm scared. There's no way around it. Because there's no end. There's no end in sight. It's not going to fix anything anyway. My gas tank's going to be filled up for $50 or $60 or $80 or whatever it is. It's going to get more expensive in the process. My life doesn't get better for it. Your life won't get better for it. Nothing's going to fucking change.
Maybe we bettered the lives of others as well.
Yeah, you're right. Raytheon, the Cheney family will get a little fucking richer.
Talking about fucking Afghanis and Iraqis and Syrians.
I'm sorry, I don't fucking care. Am I a bad person for that?
I'll call you a bad person for it, but I don't see how you can see that we were able to better someone else's life a just non-starter of like, I could care less either way.
At what cost? How many lives did it ruin? How many lives did we save? I don't know. I don't know either. Because, but at the end of the day, nothing fucking changed. A million lives are ruined. 500 less of theirs, 600 more of ours. Fine. Whatever. Who cares? Doesn't fucking change anything. And it's going to continue to not change anything. The only people that win are Raytheons and Apollo and the fucking Cheneys and all that kind of fucking bullshit. I don't even go down that rabbit hole. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't do any good for anybody. This is fucking power games by the big kids that don't give a shit about us in the first place.
So we stand back and watch?
Sure. Fine. Yeah.
Honestly.
I'm not, yeah. It's not, it's, I can't, the world isn't my problem. I can't. You can't.
Cool.
And collectively, we can't either.
I can understand that sentiment, but you are not America. You do not speak for the choices that our legislators decide to make.
And neither do they.
They do have the power because we voted them in.
Right, because we're dumb. You're right. Because we're dumb and we let them do it. You're right. It's our fault. It's our fault for electing these people. I agree 100%. I'm not even trying to be facetious with that statement. It is our fault. You're right.
No, but there's also a good chunk of this country that sees the humanitarian good in which we do throughout the world.
Okay.
And doesn't look at just the ill. I'm with you. I don't want to see more of our soldiers die for no cause. But at the same time, there is some righteous cause for some of the battles that we have fought.
Some. You're right.
I'm not going to say all.
You're right.
I'm not.
And if we had politicians that gave a shit about it and that had any sort of decency in what they were doing, then I would feel better about it. Like, I honestly would. Like, if we were going into like South Sudan and trying to save some, like, the actual literal slave trade that's happening in the Sudan right now and shit like that, absolutely. I'm on board with trying to put a stop to that. Trying to be a better.
Why?
Trying to make a better world exist.
Why you care about them?
Do what?
Why you care about them?
I don't know. I'm sorry. My bad. I think slavery is a humanitarian issue that should be stopped. I think that what's going on, like, I don't fucking care about the issues between.
I'm just
Israel
trying to
and
figure
Palestine.
out when it's fine to go outside of our borders and send our military there, and when it isn't.
Well, let's do it this way. If there was a democratic consensus that the issue at play was worth our kids, then I might be okay with it.
Do we want to have a national vote for this?
Yeah, a national vote. Not some I voted some person in to vote on 10,000 things this year. And one of them might include them putting my kids at risk.
Realistically, how long would this take?
Forever, and that would be great, because then it wouldn't happen, and that would be awesome too. There's no standard in it. There's no regularness to it. There's plenty of genocides going on around the world that we don't give a shit about.
I agree.
We just support one, but whatever. Like
we've got soldiers all throughout the world.
I know. That was my complaint earlier.
We have soldiers in Africa. We have soldiers in Sudan.
And yet it persists.
We don't put as much stuff there, yes.
Right. Like, I don't know. Whatever.
I agree. It's not as glamorous of a campaign as others are. And I don't agree with that either. I would love to see more done in places that need more help than we do.
You know what? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna put the hard line of fucking asshole on it. I'll go ahead and do it. I've had enough beer. If you fucking care, you go. How's that? If it's so important to you, you go. And I'm not pointing at you personally. I'm just in the broad scheme of things. If you give a shit about the lives of...
That's what a good chunk of our military signs up for.
But they don't... No. They don't choose to go X, Y, or Z. They go where they're told to go.
No, you can't sign up to specifically go to a certain theater.
Well, that's
my
my angry take. It's my angry take is that if you give a shit about if you give a shit about Ukraine, you go and take your money and you go fight. There are people that have done it, and I support that. Good for you. Go do it. Don't take my money and don't make my kid. If my kid wants to go, he can go. He's not going to get my money to go. That's my asshole take on it. If it matters to you, you go and you spend your money, or you give your money to somebody to go for you. I don't give a shit. If some dude just wants to go kill people, and
it's been done in the past. I want to say there was some kind of crazy thing they could do with with like selective draft. Is there some way to kind of like have like a proxy go in for you?
I'm sure that's what the Rockefellers did with their kids.
Yeah, I think that was one way it was kind of done. It's in some kind of cajoling way.
All right, so God, we went long. So I was going to do it like 5 times again just to make fun of the Groundhog's Day, people.
Predicting early spring.
We pull a fucking
Puxatawny.
We pull a giant rat out of the ground, and if we see his shadow. Because we don't know if he sees a shadow or not. Do they have the visual acuity?
We assume he has eyes that can see the same thing that we do, but I don't know if it's been scientific.
I don't know if they have the visual acuity that we have. I'm just saying.
I'm assuming they still see shadows much like we do.
Oh, anyway. Motherfucker came out of the ground. Didn't see his shadow.
Do they at least like face him in the right direction? Because most of the shots they show him, it's some guy like holding him up.
Right, but the picture on NPR that they showed today of it, it's like there's like stage lighting.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to see a shadow. There's stage lighting. And actually, honestly, in the background of the picture, it was like the break of dawn. Like you could like the sky was like that very light blue purple. Like it was like sunrise in the background, and they're picking this fucking giant rat out of the ground.
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of it.
Anyway.
Sauna patrons dressed only in towels pulled 2 from a car that plunged into a Norwegian fjord.
The sauna. We went to the sauna. That's a good story. Good job,
Sauna.
Guys. They love their sauna. Apparently, their prisons have saunas.
See, not all heroes wear capes. Some don't wear anything at all.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Nudity to save the day.
The only towels around their waist, patrons aboard a floating sauna in a Norwegian fjord.
Oh, floating sauna. Even better. Okay.
Yeah. Rescued 2 people whose cars had plunged into the water.
Man, that is not chill.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my sauna, getting my sweat on.
I got to jump into icy cold water, which they were going to do anyway.
Yeah.
They were going to do the plunge.
I'm just saying, like it's the screech and the crash that really threw me out of my chill space. Yeah, chill space. There we go. Oh. All right, you got one more? You want to call it?
There was one more funny one I saw. Let's see.
So they pull a fucking rat out of the ground, and all of a sudden we know how the winter's going to go. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, I think we talked about this last week about snowplow names.
Yeah, did the official vote come down?
Let's see here. We got Taylor Drift and Clark W. Briswald.
Ooh, you didn't mention
top
that
honors.
One. You didn't mention that one last week.
Yeah, I don't know if
Probably McFalface was always my favorite. It's perfect. It's so kid. It's so perfect.
Let's see here.
You know what? Like I said, I didn't see a shadow. Winter's done. I don't care about winter stuff anymore.
We just got into February. Indian police clear a suspected Chinese spy pigeon after 8 months in bird lockup.
Spy pigeon. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. I'm not even going down that rabbit hole.
Pigeon's ordeal began in May when it was captured near a port in Mumbai with 2 rings tied to its legs, carrying words that looked like Chinese. Police suspected it was involved in espionage and took it in, later sending it to Mumbai's hospital for animals. Eventually, it turned out the pigeon was an open water racing bird from Taiwan and had escaped and made its way to India. With police permission, the bird was transferred from the Bombay Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, whose doctors set it free on Tuesday.
You know what bothers me about that?
What's that?
How much does that cost?
To, I guess, house a bird for 8 months or whatever?
House a bird, all the phone calls, all the people that are employed to deal with the situation that this was. That's tens of thousands of dollars spent on a fucking bird that had some South Asian characters tied to its leg. What bothers me about that is we do that too. That's what I was. That was the synopsis I was getting to. In that.
That's what happens when you let fear take over logic.
Oh, good night, everybody. That's enough of this. I'm done with this day. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know where we're at. Taylor Swift is awesome. Gotta love it.
What? You're turning into a Swiftie on me now.
I don't mean, who cares? Like, what's it like? She's a rock star. She's amazing. I would go to that show. I wouldn't pay the money for it, but I would. If somebody gave me tickets, I'd go. Oh yeah. I mean, there are like $5 billion in economic whatever that she apparently that the U.S. portion of her tour did. Like, she does more to the economy than I do, and I own business and shit. So, anyway, Taylor Swift and football, it's annoying. NIL deals, they're annoying. Going to war with people for all sorts of crazy shit, that's also annoying. So anyway, we're almost agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Check us out, keep up to date. I've reached out to a few people. I'm going to try to do some more interviews. Like I said, I've got a chat with Becky Massey in the Department of Agriculture coming up. That's going to be an interesting one. If I can share that with you guys, I will. Anyway, stay tuned, everybody. We'll talk to you all soon. Good night.